KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Breaking news this hour at townhall.com. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. President Trump has tapped one of his economic advisors to serve in a temporary role on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Stephen Miram is chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisors and has been a major defender of Mr. Trump's income tax and tariff hikes. Economist Steve Moore believes the president made the right decision by firing the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And Stephen Moore points to the frequent BLS downward revisions under former President Biden.
The original numbers versus the revisions, they overstated the job creation under Joe Biden by well over 1 million jobs, and it might be closer to 2 million. Come on, that's a huge miss.
Moore was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. The Trump administration's nickname for a new detention center in Indiana has sparked a backlash.
The Department of Homeland Security announced a facility in the state of Indiana will house immigrants facing deportation. Officials are calling it the Speedway Slammer. The agency posted an image of an IndyCar-style race car emblazoned with the word ICE. Speedway, which hosts the Indianapolis 500, issued a statement saying the town was not involved.
That is White House correspondent Greg Clarkson. New Gallup poll finds a record high party gap when it comes to approval ratings for Congress and the U.S. Supreme Court. Here's correspondent Bernie Bennett.
A 61% majority of Republicans have a positive view of Congress, where the GOP narrowly controls the House and the Senate, and 75% of Republicans approve of the 6-3 conservative majority Supreme Court. But among Democrats, 6% approve of Congress and 11% approve of the Supreme Court. The result is recording partisan gulfs of 55 percentage points for Congress and 64 percentage points for the Supreme Court. The partisan gulf has widened in recent decades as Congress has become more politically polarized. Bernie Bennett reporting.
More on these stories at townhall.com.
Living with everyday pain is like having a voice that always says, no, you can't do that. You can't go there. You can't play your favorite sport. You better sit this one out. It's no way to live. If pain is affecting you, see how Relief Factor can help you get back to living life again on your terms, one where you say yes a whole lot more. Head over to ReliefFactor.com or give them a call at 800-4RELIEF. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by a team of doctors and scientists, Relief Factor's unique formula of natural ingredients doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it for good. Whether it's your back, neck, your joints, your muscles, Relief Factor can help you, as it has for so many others. Give Relief Factor's 3-week quick start a try. It's only $19.95, a low-cost way for you to sort of take it out for a test drive. Less than $1 a day. Go to ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com, or call 800-4RELIEF. That's 800-4-RELIEF. See how you could live with less pain, and you can say yes to more of everything you want.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Are the days of a personal doctor gone? Not at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Dr. Randy Tobler to share how our design is putting the care back into healthcare. Plain and simple, our members, not insurance companies, get our exclusive focus. That means same or next day appointments, responsive answers to your concerns, and a no-spin, big tool chest approach. It's about time you get serious time devoted to your medical needs. To learn about healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
It's that time of season when families, businesses are moving. For local or long distance, I endorse McGuire Moving. Get a date set soon before the schedules are booked. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. McGuire is constantly giving back to our veterans, such as support dogs for our brave. So with McGuire, you're getting excellent service and helping our vets. McGuireMoving.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com. Brian and his team, they're just amazing people. They're so proud of their operation. Pride in every installation. You can see that in the Google reviews. Pride in the great quality, pride in the great pricing, pride in the great variety, and pride in the fact that you can go into the store right off of Highway K in O'Fallon, or the store will come to you. That's the promise of O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
So Adam Schiff, Letitia James, they both seem to be in so much trouble, and they accuse Donald Trump of stuff, right? We'll get the inside dope from Douglas Blair Monday at 11:25.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
School bus driver in a traffic jam, staring at the faces in a rearview mirror, looking at the promise of the promised land. One kid dreams of fame and fortune, one kid helps pay the rent, one could end up going to prison, one just might be president.
Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer.
Only in America,
Randy Tobler
dreaming in red, white, and blue.
on News Talk STL.
Only in America, where we dream as big as we want to. We all get a chance.
This is smash mouth politics. You see, Democrats, they don't hate gerrymandering. They hate losing. And they're very afraid that finally the Republican Party led by President Donald Trump is one that is playing to win. We witnessed Donald Trump have to face 700 years in federal prison. They were playing for keeps during the last presidential election. And now we won that election with great records and great margins. And now we're just trying to redistrict a singular state to be more representative of the Hispanic population in that single state. And they're talking about adding stars to the flag and adding Puerto Rico. Well, guess what? Two can play at this game. President Donald Trump announcing the new census. What that would do is that would also potentially subtract 20 electoral votes from Democrats in the Electoral College system, as congressional seat appropriation is directly correlated with Electoral College totals. Deeper than this, though, this is a new mentality.
Okay,
this is
well,
not a Republican.
This is an interesting gambit now as the battle, the argument, the back and forth over gerrymandering, redistricting, the census, how it all plays into a big, deep cauldron of political division in our country, and what the soup is going to taste like, no one knows. Welcome into the Randy Tobler Show. Jerome is there hanging out, of course, as usual, and we've got a big show for you because we're going to be talking with a lady who wrote a book on the debunking of the FDR myth. You know, there's so many people of former generations that thought that FDR was just the nines, and look at that was the era of America rebuilding, coming back, and what a great president he was. Well, I think in the context of Zofran Mamdani, Zofran, of course, being an anti-nausea drug, it's the brand name for an anti-nausea drug, Zofran Mamdani, on the precipice of being elected the mayor, and these socialists, they call themselves Democrat socialists to try to put lipstick on that socialist pig, that Marxist pig, as that is sweeping the youth, at least the female youth and some of the male youth of this country, of voting age. We're going to be talking about populist presidents, namely FDR, who invoked more government control, more government redistribution. And how did that work out for us? Look where we're at, as our economy is nearly $40 trillion in debt. And we just keep spending and spending because there's an insatiable thirst for other people's money. With that good news, we launched the show. Our number is 314-912-1019. Some ominous clouds to double down on some of the truth seeking that we do on this program. Some ominous clouds in the tariff numbers and the tariff wars. And now that the
not the retaliatory. I think they're called just the leveling up type of tariffs. I think they're more retaliatory in some ways, and I think that's going to come down to rain on most of us, if not all of us, in one way or another, in our pocketbooks in a few short months, maybe our jobs. There's some interesting data there that we're going to talk about as well throughout the show. Todd Schowalter will join us at 8:06. Of course, always brings an interesting perspective. I didn't know it. He's out with a new book, so we're going to talk with Todd about that. Tim Jones at 8:25, and of course, Virginia Kruta at 7:45. Your calls all morning. Putin coming to America. People saying, what in the world is the president of the United States dealing with the president of Russia? Well, maybe it's not a bad idea. How did it work out for Sleepy Joe, not even talking with Biden with Putin for 3 years? Stopped talking to him, I think, in February of 22. We gotta have conversations with people you don't want to have conversations with if you're the leader of the free world. We'll see how that works out. I think, though, Putin may be playing Donald Trump like a violin, playing the rest of the world actually like a violin, as he keeps grabbing land. It's a war of attrition, and he is attritioning less than Volodymyr Zelensky, who had a better offer on the table a few years ago and didn't take it. So who are we backing? We'll see on that fair. Missouri State Fair underway. I don't know, Jerome, are you a state fair goer? I mean, I don't know. You hail from Illinois. They have a decent fair. Maybe did you ever go west over to the Iowa Fair, or you're going to head down to Sedalia and go down to the Missouri State Fair? No.
I wouldn't. Actually, I don't know if it was a state fair. I know that. So my grandparents are actually from like southern central Illinois. So there used to be this big sort of fair that would happen near Steelville, Illinois, but I don't know if that was just a city thing or a state fair. I love gatherings of that nature, though, and I think that I need to be more informed with these things so I can go to the next one.
Yeah. Now we have to talk also about shootings. It seems like there's a real escalation in these crazed shooters. Clearly, people unhinged.
Yeah.
Guy last night who puts down his backpack, and what did he have? Handguns and long guns. He starts shooting at the CDC building. Apparently, he was disgruntled over some kind of illness that he alleged came from the COVID-19 vaccine. I mean, and he took out a police officer who has 2 children and a wife pregnant with a 3rd child. It's just so tragic. And in the wake of the New York City, when a cop and a couple of 2 or 3 civilians taken out. The Army base shooting the other day. Luckily, no one died out from that one. What's going on? What's in the air, brother?
Yeah, we see a steady trend. So starting back after, ironically, extreme gun control measures were passed, all of a sudden, since about 1986 to 1990, when things like the Gun-Free School Act was enacted, then suddenly school shootings go up. I don't know if it's something in the water, if it's something in the air, if it's not getting enough nutrients, we also have a record high number of people that are on psychiatric meds, and some of these side effects will say things like impulse control issues, violent outbursts, mood swings, suicidal ideology. So I don't know how many of these individuals are on those kinds of medications, but there is something concerning going on that needs to be addressed. And I think it has to do with our culture's just general lack of that sort of moral goodness that we used to have. People forget, you used to be able to buy fully automatic rifles through the mail without a background check. And people were not going out there and using them to kill a bunch of people. They had them in their possession.
You're right. It's not about the guns. It's about the culture. And it's about, I think, an atmosphere of permissiveness. Yesterday, on the morning show that I do in Columbia, we talked with the Columbia police chief, and there's been a spate of and a real while the city blue-haired, literally, the mayor of Columbia has a large blue lock of hair, and extremely liberal. They just elected another liberal council person there in the recent election. So there's only one sort of moderate, slightly right-leaning guy out of the 6 council people, and so turning very, very blue. And even though they like to advertise the headlines that crime is down, well, that's crime like throwing your gum on the street and jaywalking, right? But violent crimes and murders are up. and it's an increasingly blue city. Wow, what a novel association. First time I've ever heard of that, huh? Rapes, domestic assault, felony assault, shootings, innocent people. Just in June, there was a bystander in downtown Columbia that was injured. Another lady was shot in the face. I mean, it's unbelievable, right? 2, 3 o'clock in the morning after the bars closed down. There's throngs of people that will assemble late at night and they get in trouble. Most of them young people. So the Columbia police chief was with us, and they've announced something that's getting pushback from the city council and from people complaining to the city council. Get a load of this. They're going to start enforcing they're going to start issuing citations, and depending on the case by case citations, making arrests if necessary because of resistance for misdemeanor crimes, things like assembling in the middle of the street, parking violations, trespassing, things that previously were just ignored. They were just looking over. And their argument is, look, it was a tagline that I think everyone from St. Louis to Baldwin to East St. Louis to Washington, was wherever, all municipal fathers should take this under consideration. She says, what you permit, you promote.
Yes.
What you permit, you promote. And if you think about the Rudy Giuliani broken glass policy back in the 90s, when New York City prior to that was a disaster area. And the whole thought was, look, if you send the message that, hey, you want to just, assemble and scoff at the police because cars can't get through because you want to hang out in the middle of the street with your buddies, don't worry about it. No one's getting killed. No one's getting shot. No one's getting raped, whatever. Well, then the next thing is you walk into the Five and Dine, not the Five and Dine, the little C-store down the street, and you pick up a 6-pack out of the beer cave and you walk out with it. Come on, and no one's looking, and no big deal. Well, then maybe you do a drug deal that's illegal. You got a little heroin, come on. I mean, no one's looking. And then the next thing you know, that takes away your filters and you have an argument with your girlfriend or your boyfriend's ex-girlfriend or your girlfriend's ex-boyfriend or your boyfriend's ex-boyfriend. And you pull out a gun and someone gets shot. And the whole point is if the justice system, starting with the police, which usually are doing their job, but they've gotten tired of the courts and the judges and yes, the juries letting people off and not following through with accountability and consequences at lower levels of misbehavior, what do you expect? People are going to push the limits. And I think maybe that's what you're talking about, Jerome. We've come into a culture of permissiveness where, if someone in cold blood, maybe let's say Louis Mangione, regardless of his motive, that's a different and a valid story. It needs to be talked about. The abuse of the American citizen and their customers and their doctors by United Healthcare, that needs to be discussed. There was a day when people would write an editorial. They would get out in the street. They would picket UHC. They would get out and say, don't do UHC, do direct primary care, whatever. Well, now, that's not the case. At any rate, when you have it on tape, it's clear. You've got the receipts. The guy shot the guy. There should be swift, certain, and severe punishment. A guy like that should probably be mandated broadcast on all the news and cable networks at 6 p.m. on Friday night. There will be a public execution by firing squad. First, we're going to show what he did. Then we're going to show the price he paid. Now, does anyone else want to mess around? FAFO, sorry. When are we going to start? And that kind of message needs to be sent for the kid that does the so-called petty crime. A lot of potholes in my neighborhood. I think that those kids could be put to a little work filling those puppies up. They could be picking up trash. They could put in a night or two in the jail and learn what that's like. Until we start that, people are going to be thinking it's okay to walk up and just shoot anyone or anything that I disagree with or that I think I've been aggrieved by. There, I said it. What say you?
Yeah, I think you're definitely onto something, especially with pay-per-view public executions. I think that would be a great way to bring the community together. I think that'd be a great way to generate some more revenue to pay off our national debt. But
hey, it'd make WWE look like nothing. WWF look like nothing, right? I mean,
yeah, and then
that'd be like a birthday party.
And to the point of putting the kids to work. So that's something that I've come to realize with. Why are some kids that I've encountered and I've tutored better behaved or have a more go-getter attitude than others? And part of that is because of the responsibility that they're given, the ability for them to develop skills and to have something that it's a task that they can tackle. It's a responsibility. It's some sort of ownership over the product, what is produced by their labor, whether that be sports, whether that be, lemonade stand, whatever the case may be.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that, especially with how much our public education system has failed since before I was in preschool, our public education system has been on the decline.
Yep.
I think that if we took the kids that don't want to be there, the disruptive kids, the bad kids, and sometimes it is a result of the parenting and the home environment, and sometimes some kids are just little brats, but you take those kids out of the school, you stop trying to force them through a system where they can barely skate by on the seat of their pants at the taxpayer dollar, and you say, hey, here's a bunch of garbage on the side of the highway. Why don't we go and we're going to take you and you can go pick all that stuff up. You can feel what it means to be a productive member of society and to have to take ownership over the quality of our environment. If we did more of that with these delinquent children, then they would probably be less inclined to become delinquent adults.
Well, to me, the argument that these kids they're young, they're immature, their brains are still developing. Well, you know what? That's the process of developing a brain. It's called learning that what you did was a mistake. You need to connect a few different neurons in different ways. You need to prune a few neurons. That happens through, as you said, accountability. If it's not happening at home and then it bleeds out onto the streets or the C-store or the school, then those authorities, namely the police, the teacher, the principal, need to help wire those brains. That's why, look, if parents didn't tell kids to start learning how to potty train and poop in the toilet, we'd have 10 and 12 and 20 and 40 and 50-year-olds pooping in their pants. That's called training. That's called training. You learn training by learning accountability. And if it doesn't happen at home, and it's increasingly not happening at home because we have too many single parent homes. This is not a judgment call. This is not a negative comment. One parent, it's hard to put food on the table, clothes on your kids, and roof over your head. If that doesn't happen, and sometimes it does happen, and when it does or doesn't happen, and then you need a little more pruning of the neurons, a little more reconnecting of the neurons, a little more development, encouragement of the brain. That's what schools are for. That's what for teachers are for. If you don't cut the mustard, you get a D. And if you don't get enough grades, then you don't advance till you get some B's and C's at least, right? That's what used to make America great. There was freedom with responsibility and accountability. We called it growing up, learning to be an adult, and we didn't enable misbehavior. With that, we'll head to a break. Hope you guys will call on this. Law and order, always on tap, because isn't that, after all, whether it's on the national security side, defending our safety as citizens of this sovereign country, or whether it's in your local community or your neighborhood, that's government's number one job, isn't it? And they failed miserably. We'll talk about that and, well, maybe some Epstein when we come back. 314-912-1019. On News Talk STL, that's us. The Tobler Show. We'll be back.
The only reason why I'm here is because it was between foster care or Dr.
Randy Tobler.
This whole thing's got me thinking about how privileged I've been. America's a wonderful country. If I were a black man, I'd be furious. We're getting frustrated.
Number one for live and local
conservative talk.
There are certain issues that we need improvement. They would rather have this country on its knees than be successful.
News, analysis, opinion.
We have common sense, and the Democrats have none.
1019 and 94.1.
And I appreciate the discussion.
St. Louis is number one for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Looking for excitement, fun, and delicious food for the whole family? Piccadilly Parwan has it all. Savor our scratch-made dishes. Nothing frozen. Every bite a true delight. Roll into fun at Piccadilly Palace for roller skating, or race your heart out at Piccadilly Kart Racing. Join us for happy hour Monday through Friday, 4 till 6. Free select appetizers and drink specials. And don't miss our mouth-watering Sunday family dinners. Piccadilly Parwan on Audrey Lane in Union, Missouri, or online at PiccadillyPar1.com.
Jamie Ullman here with the great Eric Swanson of Newstedter's Fine Jewelers, Doherty Ferry, and Big Bend. Tell me about Wow Diamonds.
Wow Diamonds. We call them that because when people come in and look at the diamonds, everyone says, wow. We feature those in natural diamonds, the mine diamonds. They're perfectly cut, polished, and proportioned. Not all diamonds come out of the cutting process the same, and ours are perfect. That's why they're called Wow Diamonds.
Newstedter's Fine Jewelers right there at Doherty Ferry and Big Bend, wowdiamonds.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on NewsTalkSTL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
The 5th Annual St. Charles Jewish Festival is Sunday, August 10th from 11 to 2:30 at the Lewis and Clark Boathouse parking lot. Join us for a vibrant celebration of Jewish life and culture. Experience world-class Jewish music, savor delicious kosher cuisine, and enjoy family entertainment. From a massive bubble party to cultural crafts, a petting zoo, and inflatables, there's something for everyone. For more info and to secure your free ticket, visit jewishstcharles.org/festival. Come celebrate, enjoy, and be inspired.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli, and my favorite sandwich from Capriati's is the Wagyu beef French dip. So good. It's the au jus that makes it. And the Wagyu beef is pretty good, too. I love Capriati's, and you will, too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill. Let's talk turf. Let's talk lawns. Let's talk about Hydrodynamics Core can help with both. Tim Jones here for Hydrodynamics Core, a St. Louis family-owned and operated company since 1973, which will help you have what every homeowner wants, lush green grass, thriving plants and shrubs, with their annual 6-step process of weed prevention and fertilizations that you should sign up for today. The Hydrodynamics Turf Plan will deliver a beautiful lawn you and your family will absolutely love. Get started now by visiting hydrodynamicscore.com. That's hydrodynamicscore.com.
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
I couldn't sleep at all last night. Just thinking of you. Baby, things weren't right. But I was tossing and turning and tossing and turning all night. I kicked the blankets on the floor. Turn my floor.
It looks like you like to get up early, so Monday through Friday, listen to me from 5:30 to 9. Mike Ferguson here, and you are listening to the Randy Tobler Show right here on News Talk STL.
We've been talking law and order and holding young people accountable because, after all, that's how they grow. It helps them become better citizens. It's not to ruin them. It's not to pummel them. It's not to lead them into oblivion. It's to help them prosper and thrive in this society of ours. But I think on the other side of the coin, we need to hold adults responsible and protect our children as well from predators, namely the likes of Jeffrey Epstein and many of those who allegedly were part and parcel of his sex trafficking ring. Why those people's names can't come out very transparently, very forthrightly, very streamlined way and redact the victims' names, I don't understand. It seems to me like a matter of taking a broad-tipped Sharpie, marking out some names, leaving other names, and then publishing the darn things. I guess I'm just a simple person. I don't understand why you can't protect the victims and call out the criminals. Now, by the same token, if they've not been charged officially, I think there is some hazard there. I understand that, and I am very conscious of that. But we do need to protect our young people while they make their mistakes and are held accountable. That's a pretty good formula. Jordan Peterson talked about that in his first book. I think one of the chapters on his 12 rules for life was don't let your kids skateboard or something, but it's okay kid go out and skateboard and run from the curb to the iron railing and back to the and break his arm. That's not a bad thing. Just protect your kid from killing himself when he's skateboarding. The metaphor there being, look, we've got to let them make mistakes. We have to let them suffer some consequences because that's the way we all grow. You only learn from your mistakes. You don't generally learn from your triumphs. With that, let's go to our caller. Who's on the line, Jerome? We have a caller here.
There was our good friend Archie was on the line briefly. He's no longer available with us, unfortunately, but he wanted to relay that you are doing a fantastic job. We also need to have more economics people on the show.
Yeah. Well, we had last week we talked economics all morning. We had David Hebert on and then Patrice Onwuka. You know, we had a big economic thing. We're going to get to that a little bit because I am in probably a minority, and I guess I'm still in the Trump arena. I don't think I'm not an unabashed always Trumper. I think that's fair to say the way I judge the president. I think he tends to overpromise and underdeliver. But again, all politicians do that. He just does it better than most. And his ideals and his ideology for this country, celebrating America first. I think we all agree on broad brushstrokes there. But we are going to highlight some news about the tariffs, about their impact at a granular level that I think will make my point. I don't think the other shoe has dropped yet on these tariffs. You know, all of his equalizing tariffs came back. What was it? Thursday they went into play, 15% basically everywhere. And I think that while the markets have sort of tolerated them so far, the tariffs have been buffered by manufacturers and distributors overseas and been absorbed. Walmart the other day said we can't absorb these tariffs at the corporate level forever. This will impact consumers. They said that. Well, if Walmart says that, why wouldn't you think that if you go out to buy some 2x4s and build a shed in the backyard, if you want to build a little gazebo out by your fish pond that you put in last year, if you want to buy some landscape rock and and put in some ornamental things and maybe buy some stuff to go around beautifying your house, you don't think that somehow those goods, whether they're made here or abroad, aren't going to cost more, either because domestic production is protected from competition or because the cost of things that can't be done here is raised because of tariffs? Think again, it's going to happen. Now they're tracking back on that and saying, well, I heard Scott Bessent say, well, the worst that'll happen is there'll be a one-time price adjustment, and that's not inflation. Excuse me, if the price goes up, isn't that an inflated price? You didn't put a needle in the balloon and the price went down. With that, let's go to a phone call. Who's on the line?
This is our good friend, Mean Gene, the dancing machine.
Mean Gene, the dancing machine. How you doing? How you doing,
Hey.
Gene? Good to hear from you.
I am well. First off, I have to start out with this caveat. I have not had opportunity due to life circumstances, lousy excuse on my part, I'll take responsibility for that, to Jeromize this comment.
Jeromize it. I like that.
That's right.
I like that.
I had heard just this week that President Trump mentioned something to the effect of 14-year-olds ought to be tried as adults on some of these things.
Yeah.
I've thought that actually for a long time. And that this stuff can't get expunged. They're committing adult crimes. They need to be treated like that. Maybe have to start, spend more money. A block in the prison that's only young offenders like that, but that's got to happen. Secondly, with these gang members and things, knowing that these young kids are going to get off on the charges, I think they ought to make another law on this, that if you do that, you're responsible and there's some other crime that's committed with a minor or something like that. Now, on a responsibility standpoint, I agree with Ken wholeheartedly on Vic's show with this. The people that are involved in all of these, alleged going-ons, Clinton and all these people, if they skate after all this stuff that's evidently true, we've got a big freaking problem. Pardon the French. So you go all the way from the beginning, all the way to the top, and it's evident there's a two-tiered justice system. This country is on a rapid road to ruin if something doesn't happen and if people don't get their butts in jail for this stuff.
Well, you're right. Now, look, I was glad you're so right, Gene. And we've talked with Andrew Bailey before how he is unhappy with our juvenile system here in Missouri. He agrees with exactly what we're talking about. He says, look, we don't send a message sternly enough to young people that there are things you don't do, because if you'll do those things and you get away with them, of course, if you're still wiring your brain and no one's helping you wire it wrong, then you'll do more miswiring. And he's absolutely right, and so are you. And look, I think that you're right. If they're going to be put in a cell block, we put them in a cell block with other youngsters. We don't put them in there with hardened criminals and, sodomy and everything else that goes on, or worse,
Exactly.
in the most. That's where you, at the same time, make them accountable, but protect them from permanent damage, right? You want to help them grow. You don't want to destroy them. And, that I think we all agree there. But that's so right. Now, I'm struggling with the whole Epstein thing, because we don't know, just because you took a plane to an island that Jeffrey Epstein has. Let's be honest about it. We don't know. You may have known about it. Why didn't you say something about it? But I don't know if that's a crime. How are we going to get at the people? How are we going to get at the people who actually were having sexual relations with young girls, right? Alan, what worries me about this, Alan Dershowitz was charged illegitimately by a girl or by a woman now who later, I guess, withdrew that charge, right? So some of these things may have been fabricated, or maybe she mistook him for someone else. I don't know. How can you mistake Alan Dershowitz? I mean, that guy's a caricature, but that's another story. But I mean, I think we got to be careful about people who were in the Epstein circle, because there's a lot of people that are in a lot of people's circles that are bad guys, but they themselves are not bad guys. That's a whole nother discussion. That's a cultural discussion. My dad always warned me, and I'm sure yours did, and Jerome's did too. Look, don't be around bad dudes. If you see people doing bad stuff, get the hell away from them. But that said, that's not a crime. So we have to be careful. But I think the justice system can sort those things out. I'm sure that there is some evidence of things that are really pretty black and white in this zone that could be sorted out. Now, Ghislaine Maxwell testified the other day. I don't think we have that entire testimony, but apparently she said that Trump never acted inappropriately. I don't know. Is that true? That's what was reported out of that testimony? You saw that, right?
Unfortunately, I did not. We've got a lot going on in our household between retiring and selling the house. No. I've been kind of out of the mainstream this week, uncharacteristically.
Oh, I got to ask you a question. When it comes to selling the house, can you talk about irrational behavior on the part of youth? We do it as adults. And what I mean by that is, why do we wait to fix up things in our house until we sell it? At least I've done that in some cases. I needed to repaint the baseboards. They were all nicked up, or I had, something I didn't repair. And I wish I would have repaired it before I sold the house, because I could have enjoyed the repair. You know what I'm talking about? Or is that not you, Gene?
Yeah, no, that is true. I have to admit, I think some of it is when you look at the overall scope of things with priorities on time and fun, some of that stuff, it's easy to throw all the way down at the bottom before you put the lipstick on and the eyeliner and the makeup and everything and spit polish everything, and it looks beautiful. So,
Yeah. Hey, well, good luck to you as you do the cleanup, getting ready for the sale. Maybe Jerome will be looking on Zillow and buy your house. We'll see. All right. Thanks a lot.
There you go. You're welcome. Bye.
Have a great day, Gene.
Take care. No, I mean, and it sounds like a bunch of old guys and a young guy all just, grinding their teeth over what's wrong. There's a lot right with this country, and I think there's a lot of people that are doing the right thing, and I guess that's what makes it so frustrating. Those of us who try to do the right thing on an everyday basis by the people that we meet and serve and are served by, the vast majority of Americans who are gracious and grateful and productive and sacrificial and hardworking, I think we resent people that get away with being everything but that. Let's just say those of us who try to do all those things, we don't always succeed, but that's our intent. And then there are those who just blatantly, willfully, malevolently take advantage of their power and their money and their influence. And it hurts the rest of us, both morally and financially and in a security way. And we can't understand it. We just can't understand it. That's what makes it so rifling, so disgusting, so sardonically evil that it's a two-tiered system. You got enough money, you got enough power, you can hire enough suited lawyers to get you out of trouble, and the rest of us just don't have those advantages. And it gets old after a while.
Yeah, if I could just comment real quick on two things that Gene brought up. So with charging minors as adults, and I agree 100% because it's not the case that these are just knucklehead young kids. So in my personal experience, and again, I grew up with active gang members as a kid, people that were recruited at the age of like 11 and 12 to become part of the Gangster Disciples or the Black Hill Gang or Latin Kings or whatever the case may be. And they were being taught by adults who had been in prison, you can get away with this. It's only going to be this charge. So here, hold this gun for me. Hey, go out and get that car. Hey, go out and do this or that, because they would figure out what the actual charges and what how the kid could get the least punishment possible. And oftentimes it's just a slap on the wrist these days. So yes, I think that if we raise that up and we make it clear that if you want to think that you're an adult, you want to act like an adult, you want to commit quote unquote big boy crimes like that, then you are going to face the same charges that you would. Age should not matter with certain crimes. Now, the second point is regarding the Epstein stuff. So I have a printed copy and I have this highlighted and I'm keeping it on me because there's a lot of changes in the narrative right now. I want to remind
right next to your Constitution, next to the pocket Constitution. Okay, good. I know you carry both documents with you.
Yep,
okay.
And the Bill of Rights and
and the Bill of Rights.
But so the one of the statements was from this is the official DOJ FBI comment. This is what started the whole argument about the Epstein thing all over again for just because it's been a couple of weeks, but a lot's changed. That they found no basis to revisit or disclose any materials that were related in the case, and that, quote, there was also no credible evidence found that Epstein blackmailed prominent individuals, and that they did not uncover evidence that could predicate an investigation against uncharged third parties. The court case, the summary of the court cases for the convictions for both Epstein and Maxwell basically referenced unnamed. They were being protected under their, employee 1, employee 2, whatever, but they mention uncharged third parties. So if the FBI and DOJ are at what they had available at that time, and I can't imagine there's too much more that they have suddenly found, they said that we don't have any reason to go after anybody else. We don't believe that anybody else was involved, which we know is not true. Then Massey and I believe Roque Khanna is the Democrat that was assisting him, but Eric Burleson signed this discharge position. They were trying to force through to get the evidence and the files actually released. And Speaker Johnson called the congressional session to an end early to prevent that for 6 or 7 weeks, so that whatever they could do behind the scenes could be done. So I don't want to go and speculate too much. I don't want to be part of these false accusation type individuals, but we have a history where President Trump has been lied about. The Russian collusion hoax was a hoax. There are times where the mainstream media has lied about him. And what he usually does is he sues them and he wins a lawsuit. He brings it to court. He has the people go through it and he says, look, they're lying about me. He does not have the files redacted. And we know, because the FBI and DOJ have confirmed this, that currently they are redacting names of people for whatever their claim is. So I wonder even with whatever gets released, what do we really expect to happen from this? Because I don't believe anybody, I don't think they're going to give up anybody that is loyal or a donor or whatever the case may be. I really am starting to not think anything is going to come of this. If we get anything at all, it's not going to result in what we want.
Well, is it your opinion or assumption or speculation or thought that there are people that were actually involved in rape that are uncharged?
Yes.
Or is it that how do we know that, though? I mean, why were they uncharged?
Because the plea deal that was given to both Maxwell to Epstein, Maxwell didn't get the same deal because hers were a little bit more expansive with her crimes, and they were also international. Yeah. But the Epstein deal that Alan Berkowitz, I believe his last name was, that he worked out is that they were going to basically have a privilege to where you don't have to give up all the names of the people. You just have to acknowledge whatever conspiracy is going on. The victims during Ghislaine's trial actually named certain individuals, and these names have been available for public. People act like we are waiting on the flight list. We've had the flight list for years now. People are acting like we're waiting on the black book. We've had the black book for years now. We know who went to the islands. We know who was most of which were contacts of his that he could have called up in Palm Springs, Florida, or in New York, where the 2005 to 2008 crimes were being committed. So we have all this. The issue is we don't know which of these people were facilitating the abuse and which people just happen to be casual contacts. But there are definitely,
Right.
and again, so in the conviction, and I would put it up on the screen if I had time, but the actual convictions say that there are at least 3 known employees, 2 of which were in New York, 1 of which was in Florida, who are listed as employee 1, employee 2, employee 3, that were actively involved in recruiting and transporting minors to both Epstein and Ghislaine. And they also were in contact with other people for similar purposes. They never had their names exposed because as part of this plea deal and as part of their testimony, they got to have their information redacted. So we know and if you go through, this has been publicly available on the official .gov justice site. We know for a fact that these people exist, and now they're trying to act like it's not a thing. And now we're being told, well, they're innocent people we need to protect. Sue them. If your name is on that list and you did nothing wrong, you sue them for slander, for libel, for whatever the case may be. You don't redact something and deprive us of information that your administration, that Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and Dan Bongino all promised we were going to get.
There's one problem with your argument there. I followed you all the way up to sue them, and then you'll clear your name. When you're a public figure, that doesn't apply. If you're a public figure, you can be defamed and you will not win a defamation suit unless you're Donald Trump. But I mean, for the most part, you don't win it. It's only if you're defamed, for instance. Well, no, you wouldn't be protected either because you are a prominent public figure. And so you realize that, Jerome. Now that you're a public figure, a part of the media, you probably couldn't claim that either. It's crazy. That's a problem with our laws. People can say whatever they want, destroy people's reputations. The media can run with the ball, and you don't know that the justice system is going to protect you. I have very personal knowledge of those kinds of cases. Someday we'll talk about it. All right, when we come back, let's expose some tariff myths and realities and facts that you may found a little uncomfortable if you thought that these tariff wars are going to always play in the United States' favor. That coming back on the Tobler Show. Later on, we talk about FDR, the myth around him, and what it tells us about the myth around the rise of the social democrats in America. Later on, after that, Virginia Kruta. And then we have Todd Schowalter in the 8 o'clock hour and Tim Jones to wrap it up at 8:25. Big show all morning. Hope you'll hang with us.
If you have a phone, you have a radio. Download the all-new NewsTalkSTL app.
Love the all-new app.
And listen anytime, anywhere.
Join Aaron Tarlow every Sunday night at 9 on NewsTalkSTL for Shall Not Be Infringed, your voice for Second Amendment rights and firearms education. Brought to you by DG Firearms, Kevin's Guns, Osage County Guns, and Full Circle Reloading and Firearms.
From the heart of Missouri, straight to your favorite St. Louis shelves. Discover Stolock Ozark Highlands Whiskey and Inversion Vodka. Crafted 100% in Missouri's Ozark Highlands with unmatched smoothness and bold, refined flavor. These award-winning spirits are redefining what local means. Want to win a bottle? Visit stoneledgedistillery.com/win and register today. Stolock Whiskey, Inversion Vodka. Proudly made in Missouri, poured wherever quality matters.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my good friend Harry Parker and the ultimate seafood dining experience at Gulf Shores, GulfShoresRestaurantandGrill.com. Gulf Shores offering a unique dining experience with a vast, mouth-watering menu of all of your favorite delicious dishes, something for everyone's taste or palate. 3 convenient locations, Edwardville, Creve Coeur, and St. Peter's. Dine in, carry out. They've got a food truck, too. Friendly staff. Looking forward to seeing you, making your dining experience one you will remember. Gulf Shores RestaurantandGrill.com.
Attention off-road enthusiasts. Iron Bear Customs has the strongest bumpers on the planet. Plus, brush guards, lift kits, and custom cages for all vehicles. Visit IronBearCustoms.com and mention NewsTalkSTL for 10% off. Iron Bear Customs, built tough for the toughest terrain.
Discover Patriot Powder Coating, your family-owned specialist in Pacific. From small jobs to big projects, we got you covered. Visit our showroom or call 636-551-0377. Get your NewsTalk STL for 10% off.
Hello, I'm Missouri State Treasurer Vivek Malik. August 14th is National Able Savings Day, a time to highlight how able accounts empower individuals with disabilities. Our More Able program helps Missourians save for everyday needs without losing public benefits. To celebrate, we are offering a $25 match for anyone who opens a new account in August. Earnings grow tax-free and contributions qualify for a state tax reduction. Let's help more Missourians build financial independence. Learn more at moreable.com.
Paid for by the Missouri State Treasurer's Office.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps stand ready to defend the American way of life. The few, the proud, the Marines.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
I do want to spend just a couple minutes talking about the tariff wars now that these, well, I think they're retaliatory. That's not the term that the administration is using. But these tariffs have gone in now globally Thursday, and, higher tariffs against India, for instance, who hasn't come to the table with a deal. Trump announced a 100% tariff on semiconductors. We have a deal allegedly with Japan and others. But when you delve down into the real story, you find out that in fact, these global tariffs give us more than just the bright, shiny picture that the president would like to portray. And as I was looking through some of the details of what's going on in people's lives as a result of these tariffs and how it's affecting people, you begin to talk to people that are maybe manufacturing things that require goods from abroad that can't be brought in. Well, even things that are not manufactured here, but just distributors. I remember the story I read last week, the story of a guy who, I don't know, somehow serendipitously, he was on some vacation to Costa Rica after he'd retired, and he fell in love with coffee, started a coffee company in America, and was importing coffee. And at that time, the coffee beans were $5,000 a metric ton, I think he said. And with the tariffs on imports of everything, because the tariffs are broadly applied with very few carve-outs, the way Trump is doing it, suddenly coffee beans have gone up to $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 a metric ton. Well, the problem with this is that you can't grow coffee beans in the United States. They're an equatorial product. If you can, it's a hobby. I mean, you can't do it in any quantity. Aluminum and the other things that go into manufacturing of our automobiles and our planes and other things, we have to import those. And when those costs go up, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, you can only absorb those costs into their profit and balance sheets for so long. And ultimately, we're going to end up paying more to buy an airplane ticket if aluminum is tariffed, and it costs Boeing more to build that 737, and Delta buys it. They have to at some point, unless you don't believe in a capitalistic system and profits, at some point it's going to be passed along. And I saw this out of the Wall Street Journal. In the first quarter, you know how the manufacturing was going to come back here? And the promises made on bringing things back. From March to July, U.S. manufacturing activity contracted, according to an Institute for Supply Management survey. The manufacturing PMI last registered at 48, below the 50 score. The effective tariff rate on all imported goods now stands at a roughly 18% versus 2.3% last year. I don't know how ultimately it can't be passed down to us, the consumer. So I don't think, and now we saw in the jobs report last Friday, that wasn't a pretty scene. So at what point is the other shoe going to drop? And I think we're seeing that manufacturers and distributors they're holding their cards close to the vest. They're not hiring. They're not building out. They're not adding another warehouse. They're not adding another location, they don't know what to think. They don't know where it's all going to go. And even worse, other countries and business people in those countries, they're going, yeah, sure, Donald, do what you want. They're talking now with one another. China's talking to Brazil. Japan's talking to, people in Africa. They're going to find other markets and develop them. Not that our market still isn't the biggest and the largest and a very desirable one, but I think that you're going to see, I just don't think this is going to be a smooth and beautiful and rosy colored picture as the administration paints.
Yeah, and so props where props are deserved. There are manufacturers that are investing in and planning on building plants, moving production here. The downside to that, though, is like we saw with Microsoft recently, where they laid off a couple thousand American workers, and then they hired a few thousand H-1B visa workers. That seems to be the game plan right now to avoid tariffs and maximize profits. And regarding the tariffs, because I see a lot of people saying, they just released a report. The administration released a report saying, hey, we just brought in a record number of tariff income and we're winning. I want to remind people, so I thought originally tariffs were the foreign people that want to sell goods here have to pay an additional fee to have those goods shipped here and sold here. That's not how it works. They get sent here. The tariff is placed on the people that are distributing the goods here. And then what they do is they incorporate that into the cost of the good. So essentially we're paying an extra tax to buy imported goods because we don't really have many alternatives. And then we're clapping over the fact we're paying extra taxes.
Yeah. Now it is true that there will be a lag between the tariffs and the incentive to bring manufacturing and distribution back here. One economist likened it to asking someone who hasn't lifted a dumbbell, much less a barbell of 20 pounds in 30 years, to suddenly bench press a couple 100 pounds. Our manufacturing sector has been decimated by both Republican and Democrat administrations. And so at some point you have to say, okay, there's going to be a little lag time, but in that lag time, I think there's going to be some pain. And again, Donald Trump said prices are going to come down. Now, I think those of us who are maybe know Donald Trump and Trumpies and I think what he meant is that inflation's going to come down. The rate of prices is not going to go up. But when prices come down, truly, literally come down, that's called deflation. That's usually associated with economic calamity. No one's buying stuff, demand goes down, and things happen in a negative direction. Come back, the FDR myth. We'll talk about that. More on the Tobler Show. Stay with us.
Whether at home or at work, you're mobile. So when you're mobile, stay mobile. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the NewsTalkSTL app in the App Store or at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
JC's Wayback Machine.
This week we commemorate the Beatles' 1966 concert in St. Louis with Paul McCartney. He's our A-list interview. I'm also going to play you a couple of alternate takes of Beatles classics. You'll also hear a semi-obscene rant from a conversation I had with Robin Williams on this, the 11th anniversary of his passing, plus great tunes from the 90s, 80s, and 70s you don't hear anywhere else.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9. On News Talk STL.
Hey, looking for windows that solve your problems and actually add value to your home? Renewal by Anderson. Anderson products increase your home value by at least 15%. Right now, get $329 off every window, $729 off every patio or entry door, and ask about our zero interest plan for 3 years. Renewal by Anderson, the full-service replacement division of Anderson. That's a name you've trusted for more than 122 years. Renewal by Anderson has FiberX frames, 20% stronger than vinyl, built to last. It's why we have more 5-star reviews than anyone in St. Louis. And only Renewal by Anderson backs it up with the nation's best warranty. Schedule your complimentary consultation, rbastl.com, or call 877-WINDOWS, 877-WINDOWS. Renewal by Anderson, superior products, exceptional service.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney.
Make sure to join us this weekend as we dig into thyroid truths. We're going to really be debunking the myths that surround thyroid and weight gain and really look at what is actually driving the problem. So if you've been feeling the fatigue, losing hair, got the energy issues, have all the symptoms, and even if you've been medicated or not, and you're trying to fix it, make sure you're there.
Simply Health, Saturdays at noon on News Talk STL. To find out more about Simply Health Integrated Medical, log on to simplyhealthintegrated.com. KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. There's a beefed-up federal law enforcement presence on the streets of Washington, D.C. Here's correspondent Greg Cluxton.
At the direction of President Trump, federal officers will be patrolling the nation's capital for at least the next week.
You're going to be safe walking down streets. You're not going to get mugged.
He has repeatedly complained about the city's crime.
Now, we want to have a great, safe capital.
The president has suggested that his administration could fully take over running D.C., but doing so would require a repeal of the Home Rule Act of 1973 in Congress. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Former National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien says U.S. needs new crop of young Americans to keep pace with President Trump's push to increase U.S. shipbuilding.
We need them to go learn how to be HVAC technicians and welders and pipe fitters, and that'll help the companies. But look, President Trump is committed to it. We can ramp up construction times, and we're going to do so.
Economist Steve Moore says the recently fired head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics was part of an outdated system.
It's incompetence, I think she's guilty of. And we need to get somebody in there who can look. We're still doing these numbers. I don't want to get too much in the weeds on this, but we're still gathering this data the way we did 75 years ago. Hello, times have changed. How many people have a phone in their house?
Fueled by strong winds and dry conditions, fast-moving wildfires in Southern California forced thousands of people to evacuate. These words of appreciation from Joseph DeLeonardi, who spoke to ABC 7 Los Angeles about the flames that surrounded his cul-de-sac.
We are so blessed. We're so thankful. If it wasn't for these CAL FIRE men, we would have lost everything.
The Canyon Fire has scorched nearly 5,000 acres already since it erupted on Thursday. More on these stories at townhall.com.
We all know the importance of good daily habits, whether it's getting outside, getting your steps in, stretching those limbs, or eating right. Doing it on the regular is key. That's why if you're dealing with everyday aches and pains, it's time to bring Relief Factor into your life. Head over to ReliefFactor.com or give them a call at 800-4RELIEF and get their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. Relief Factor is the daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Developed by a team of doctors, it uses a special formula of 4 natural ingredients. Relief Factor doesn't just mask the pain, it helps reduce or eliminate it. In fact, the longer you take Relief Factor, the more effective it is to get your days going without any pain. So you can get you out of pain by taking their 3-week quick start. It's only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Simply call 800-4RELIEF. 800, the number 4-RELIEF. Wherever you're having pain, neck, shoulders, hips, knees, don't let it keep you from living the life you want to live. Make Relief Factor part of your daily routine. Go to ReliefFactor.com or call 800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800, the number 4-RELIEF.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that. The stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives. It's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Is your backyard a battleground every evening? Swatting, itching, kids running back inside? Hey, Tim Jones here. I just found out about a new local company, Mosquito Nix, that can take care of all that and more. They offer permanent automatic mosquito and tick protection, not just fogging, real coverage you don't have to think about. They've helped over 40,000 families nationwide take back their yards with their automatic mosquito control system. Now they're offering a free fogging treatment to introduce themselves to St. Louis families. Call 636-698-1980 now or visit mosquitonix.com. Say goodbye to bug bites this summer. Service area restrictions do apply. Tell them Tim Jones sent you. Ask about their back-to-school special. St. Louis summers don't last forever, but mosquito bites shouldn't either. Call 636-698-1980. Visit mosquitonix.com. That's mosquitonix.com. This is a limited time offer.
Jamie Allman here with the Allman Report. Pleased to be with Jordan Rosenblum. Google the bagel loan. That's what it's all about. Jordan, tell me about purchasing a home, brother.
Purchasing a home right now, it's a tough market. You're going to see a lot of competition. On the bagel loan that we have, you're going to have no closing costs, no title fees, no appraisal fees, no lender fees. Saves an average client almost $4,000 on a transaction. Customer service, unbelievable. Text, call anytime.
As I know, as a real estate agent, Google the bagel loan. Google the bagel loan, folks.
NMLS number 226715.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
With every Larry Connors USA program, you're going to get news, analysis, opinion, and education.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
My daddy say, he said, you ain't seen nothing till you down on the muffin, then you sure to be changing your ways. I met a cheerleader, was a real young breed, all times I can reminisce. All the best things in loving with a sister and a cousin, only started with a little kiss like this.
Randy Tobler, Truth Warrior, Woke Destroyer on News Talk STL. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL.
Hey, Dr. Tobler, I think we might be having some slight technical difficulties here. So while we get that figured out, we are now joined by our guest, Mary. Is it Grabar or Grabar? I'm sorry, I apologize.
No problem. It's Grabar.
Mary Grabar, the author of Debunking the FDR Myth. Thank you so much for joining us while we try to get Dr. Tobler back on air. Sometimes we have gremlins in our studio that like to play with our cords, and so I do apologize about that. How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. Thank you.
Awesome. And again, once again, thank you so much for joining us so bright and early on a Saturday morning. So tell us just real quick a little bit about the book, The FDR Myth, because there might be people out there that don't know too much about who FDR was, at least, in my generation. I'm a young millennial, so forgive me. But what are some of the takeaways from the book?
Well, yes, a lot of people are ignorant about FDR. So it's not just millennials, it's, baby boomers and, everyone else. The biggest myth, well, there are two myths, that prevail. There's one about the economics, that he got us out of the Depression successfully, led the country, united us, provided comfort through his fireside chats, blah, blah, blah. And of course, that is not the case at all. He actually prolonged the Depression, and he may have done that deliberately in order to implement his socialistic policies. And number two, that he was a great leader during World War II, that he defeated fascism, and that therefore we live in a free world as a superpower. But of course, that overlooks the fact that, at least a third of the globe was under communist totalitarian rule. And that also the war went on longer than it needed to because he insisted on unconditional surrender and thus sacrificing American lives and others' lives.
And if I remember correctly, he stood in power for, what was it, 3 or 4 terms, correct?
Yes, he won the 4th term. He was clearly a dying man. People, anyone who saw him, who hadn't seen him, was appalled by his appearance. I mean, it was just obvious to everyone that he was not long for the world. He was suffering from heart problems, but he insisted on running. And, he probably would not have won the 4th term if the war had not been going on still. So if we had won the war before then, he clearly would have been out. But he clung on to power to the very last minute and died on April 12th, 1945 in Warm Springs, Georgia, with his mistress from long ago in the same room.
Producer Jerome speaking now with Mary Grabar, author of Debunking the FDR Myth. So one of the things you touched on was some of FDR's socialist policies, and I can't help but wonder in the modern day, is there any relevance to the FDR administration in today's climate as well?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've inherited, his big government bureaucracy that President Trump is trying to dismantle. It's an overwhelming task. Where do you begin? I mean, you have the New Deal programs and, offices like, the AAA, the Agricultural Adjustment Administration that's given us agribusiness favors, big farms over family farms. We have Social Security that confiscates our money out of our paychecks, for retirement that cannot support anyone. We have unemployment insurance. We have banking insurance that we pay for with our taxes. And, who benefits from that? It's the big banks when they become too big to fail, as we heard in 2008, in 2009, and also during the savings and loan crisis in the 1980s. It just goes on and on. We have the military industrial complex. We can, Eisenhower talked about that, but it goes back to FDR. And it's just his presidency affects our lives every day in almost every way. I mean, his legacy is that he made Americans more dependent on the federal government. He made local governance weaker, so he took power away from the states and from local municipalities and, acquired it for the federal government through the crisis of the Great Depression.
Yeah, I think he was the president that also did those mandatory gold buybacks, right?
Yeah, right. Oh, absolutely. That's I have several pages on that. I mean, you go back to the New York Times, back in the 1930s when the New York Times was actually reporting the news, and you have all these articles about people, ordinary Americans, lined up in a panic with their gold, that they, this was, some of them, this was their life savings, and carrying big boxes and bags and sometimes with gold coins that they had been given as Christmas gifts, because if they didn't, according to Roosevelt's order, they would face 10 years in prison and a $10,000 fine. And you had guards there lined up. And of course, they were given banknotes that were quickly devalued. I mean, people don't know about this very much. I mean, this, of course, was done in Soviet Russia, where, the banks were taken over, under, military order. And Americans couldn't legally own gold unless it was, say, a bracelet or a piece of jewelry. Anything more than that, I think it was 1972. I mean,
wow.
So, yeah. I mean, people forget that. This is an autocrat. This is not, the fatherly figure that comes, over the fireside chats and talks to you in a comforting tone. This is who the man really was.
So it really does sound like somebody we would probably never want to have in any form of political power again. But fast forwarding to the modern world now, we have people that are like the likes of Bernie Sanders, AOC, and the New York mayoral candidate Zoran Mandami. So are there any parallels between what FDR did in his administration's policies and something to look out for when it comes to these individuals?
Oh, absolutely. FDR's goals were very similar. He wanted complete government control over people's lives. I mean, he gave a talk at something called the People's Forum in Troy, New York on March 3rd, 1912, where he outlined his plans 20 years before he won election and 20 years before we were in the midst of the Great Depression. And he said there's no reason why the state shouldn't take over what farmers do, that the state should be able to compel the farmer to, cultivate his land, not let it go fallow, order him to put fertilizer on it, what kind of fertilizer and when, because that would help the liberty of the community. So he promoted this notion of interdependence. He gave a little history lesson about the founding. He was a poor student at Harvard, just earned gentleman's C's. But he said what the founding fathers, they of course wanted to break away from the mother country and gain independence and have, independence for individuals. But what they really wanted, they didn't know it, and Franklin Roosevelt did, is they wanted interdependence. And so he used that word in his presidential candidate acceptance speech, and he also used it in his first inaugural. So there he is laying out his vision for the United States. We are not to be independent people, but we're supposed to be interdependent. And not in a voluntary way, but through compulsion. Not, through the way Alexis de Tocqueville, saw it, where people were getting together for town hall meetings and making decisions about schools and so forth. No, this was under government compulsion, and he used that word.
Wow. So when it comes to obviously being reliant on the government, I think most of us rational individuals can say, no, thank you. We see how the government handles our finances and our tax revenue. We see how the policies that they create affect us more than them. But one of the things that's been very interesting, again, as a young millennial, is how many of the us youthful Americans are actually starting to shift in some ways towards viewing people like Mamdani as a charismatic, noble fighter, and then almost viewing capitalism as a failed experiment that necessitates some sort of communist, Marxist, socialist nonsense to come and replace it, which is way worse, in my opinion. So when you look at somebody like Mamdani, for example, what are the red flags immediately that people should be on the watch of, and what do you think that people are getting wrong when they are supporting him and in his blatantly socialist rhetoric?
Well, I'll quote you two phrases that he used. He advocated, quote, seizing the means of production. And the second one was he called for, quote, the abolition of private property. Now, this comes right out of the Communist Manifesto. I don't know how much more blatant you can get than those two phrases. I mean, this is what he wants. I mean, he may dress himself up, and the media may also present that picture of him as this kind of, nice looking, charming, democratic socialist who's going to lower rents and provide free bus fare and all these things for New Yorkers. But this is out of the communist playbook. I mean, these are unadulterated words that point to communism.
Producer Jerome, once again, speaking with Mary Grabar, author of Debunking the FDR Myth. And while Dr. Tobler continues to shake away these gremlins, I do appreciate your time in joining us this morning. So one of the phrases, again, that you mentioned and that I've heard ad nauseum from many younger people is democratic socialism, which personally to me kind of sounds like an oxymoron, like a giant shrimp, so to speak. So is there such thing as a democratic socialist ideology in your opinion, or is it just a way to try to sugarcoat and sprinkle on to the Trojan horse that is socialism going into full-on government tyranny through communism?
No, I think the latter, as you describe it, it's a sugarcoating of communist goals. They are basically a front group. We don't have the Soviet Union anymore that's financing and directing, the CPUSA, Communist Party of the United States of America. But we have these homegrown communists, and they are in the, democratic socialists, and they've gained incredible political power in the last 10 years, ever since we had AOC elected to Congress. Every year, their number grows, especially up here in New York State.
Yeah, it's definitely disheartening in some regards, and very, I don't know, it kind of makes me sad, but that's about all the time we do have left. I do appreciate that, Mary. And real quick, so where can we find more of your work, and where can we get your book at?
Okay, well, I have a website called dissidentprof.com, and prof is short for professor, and I'm a dissident. And you can go there and get on my email list to get updates on what I'm doing and my articles that are being published. My articles are also listed at marygrabar.com, Grabar. And you can find Debunking FDR, The Man and the Myths, wherever books are sold. It's published by Regnery. You can buy it at Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Go to my website. There are links there. So it's readily available.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. I do hope to pick up a copy for myself because, again, FDR is one of those figures that I think gets too much of a pass in the historical context of the shaping of the United States. But thank you once again so much for joining us. I do apologize that Dr. Tobler was unable to join us. I hope you have yourself an amazing weekend.
Thank you. Same to you.
All righty, folks. When we come back, hopefully Dr. Tobler will have finished slaying all the gremlins. But we do have a Power Pack show coming up, and we are always inviting you to provide your comments via Facebook, Rumble, surprisingly YouTube, X, as well as the good old-fashioned way of calling us at 314-912-1019. This is the Randy Tobler Show here on News Talk STL 101.9 and 94.1.
Young ladies in the school gym locker when I noticed they was looking at me.
This is a 100-year catastrophe, and it's just so horrible to watch.
Questions.
There have been some 850 rescues.
Are we raising the right ones?
The Trump administration is making deep cuts to weather forecasting.
You have to look at the Doge-Trump cuts.
Will we ever get answers?
Nobody there has said anything about that they didn't get everything that they wanted immediately or that they needed.
St. Louis's place to talk about it.
What happened? Why did it happen?
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Retirement planning used to be easy. You put in your 40 years with the company, get the gold watch, and life's good, right? Wrong. Randy Tobler here. Planning for retirement today involves balancing critical decisions regarding your investments, pensions, Social Security, and more. That's why I'm urging you to start planning now. It's also why you should connect with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. They bring a combined 100 years of wealth management experience to help you with your retirement plan. You can hear Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert every Saturday morning at 9 during On the Money here on News Talk STL 1019. Their team is ready to help you design your retirement plan with the care and commitment you deserve. Request your complimentary retirement plan consultation today at clearpathinvesting.com or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company, Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for the great Window World. You know, just over the last 20 years of Window World being in St. Louis, they've improved the look and thermal efficiency of more than 76,000 customers in St. Louis. Plus, Window World windows come with a lifetime warranty that covers all parts, glass breakage, and labor. And now Window World is now offering 36 months, same as cash financing with approved credit. Call them today at 314-993-1800, 314-993-1800.
Planning your next adventure? Head to Landell EE Clothing Store in Wentzville and gear up for less. Whether you're hitting the beach or the slopes, we've got you covered at prices that won't break the bank. Find us at 12680 Veterans Memorial Parkway, just west of Highway A off I-70. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Landell EE, where adventure meets affordability. Stop by today and discover the bargains waiting for you.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
Are you tired of chiropractors who rush treatments and overcharge? At Dr. Toby's place, Dr. Tobin Lingenfelter takes a different approach.
I believe in listening to my patients, understanding their needs, and treating the whole person.
Whether it's back pain, headaches, or joint issues, Dr. Toby is committed to your complete wellness journey.
I'm not satisfied until you're feeling your best.
Dr. Toby's place, where your wellness journey begins. Call 314-221-4913 or visit softwavemo.com. That is softwave, W-A-V-E, mo.com.
You can't buy a best friend. You can love them, walk them, pet them, and care for them, whether they want you to or not. You can take a picture or 50. You can fly to the moon, travel the world, or just stay in bed. You can't buy a best friend like that, but you can adopt one. There are millions of pets waiting for a best friend just like you. Help us save them all at bestfriends.org.
Joey from Vermont, a farmer trying to get through the winter. Adriana from South Carolina, a single mother living paycheck to paycheck. Liam from Ohio, an injured father struggling to provide for his family. Hi, I'm Shanola Hampton, and I support the Feeding America network of food banks because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
This is Larry Connors reminding you to listen to my program Monday through Friday at 6 p.m., the Larry Connors USA Daily Report. But now, back to the outstanding Dr. Randy Tobler.
What the purpose is about this entire project, it's not simply to raise class consciousness, but to win socialism. And obviously raising class consciousness is a critical part of that. But making sure that we have candidates that both understand that and are willing to put that forward at every which moment that they have, at every which opportunity that they're given. We have to continue to elect more socialists. And we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. There are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right? Or whether it's the end goal of ceasing the means of production.
All right, there you go. He said it, and I'm back. I don't know what happened.
they try to cancel me. Do you notice that, Jerome? Once in a while, they try to cancel me. They're not going to get away with it, though. I pulled out not one, but two, but three other connections. And I finally, I don't know, I reconnected. Nothing changed. Nothing changed on this end. Nothing. So I think the gremlins were at it. They were trying to cancel me. And maybe Mamdani and his Democrat socialists, I heard part of I could hear everything. You just couldn't hear me. I'm telling you, they're canceling my voice. Look, I heard your interview there, and I think there are some startling similarities between FDR, the myth, the hoax. Remember, he wanted to pack the court. That was the start of socialism in America. That was the real ramping up of redistribution. That's when Social Security came around. And that was really the launch of Americans expecting the government to come and rescue them. There's nothing wrong with a temporary safety net when times are down, but those programs, once they get started, become absolutely embedded and become an expectation that's an obligation of the government. So that's I think what's going on, and we need to get on top of it for sure. Now, Jerome, tell me this: what is your as a person who's a student of history, but also a wise and learned analyst of the political scene? What is you as opposed to your? What are you? Are you late millennial?
Yeah, I am actually just at the cutoff between millennial and I believe they're the Gen Z, the Zoomers. So I'm like the baby of that generation, so to speak.
Okay. So what's your thought of FDR? Good, bad, ugly?
From what I can tell, he was very popular as a figure, and I know people that are more my age, they love the fact that he did so many government programs, he did so many executive orders, that he was this noble hero of history that did what had to be done despite his condition. But
yeah.
Again, when you issue an executive order for mandatory gold buybacks, when you are on record, there are surviving records saying that he secretly praised Mussolini and wanted to be viewed and celebrated the same way that Benito Mussolini was celebrated. When you make decisions and that are contrary to a free American people, I don't think I can support that. If anything, I would put him probably in my top 3 worst U.S. presidents of all time.
Yeah. But yet people in that generation, the greatest generation, absolutely had the feeling that he was the savior. And I know that I have living relatives who absolutely worship at the altar of FDR. And I think he was probably one of the biggest threats that the Oval Office ever brought to the people of the United States. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with the temporary, as we were emerging from the World War II, nothing wrong with some expenditures, some safety net programs. But the ongoing damage that, for instance, Social Security has been, that pyramid scheme, if you're going to have, for instance, if you're going to have forced savings so that people do have some retirement guarantee and don't end up on the streets, why not have market invested savings? Why the government commandeers our money, plunders us, takes now between our employer and us, or if you're self-employed, you pay the whole lug. What, 12.5%, 13%? And the government takes it and squanders it and allegedly stewardships it or shepherds it. Really? Do you ever trust people in high powers in centralized places to do the best for your money? Wouldn't it be better if you invested that money and had some control over it? I mean, after all, that was just the launch and the genesis of the beginning of big government, and government is not anymore my safety net in times of need, to be removed once the times of need are removed. Government is no longer solely to protect my security on a national basis and my personal safety in terms of just law and order. Government and to enforce contracts. That's what the government should do, pretty much simply, right? Infrastructure, yes, I get it. That can be done very responsibly. You can build a road, and then you can raise a tax, and then you can raise a tax to maintain it. But instead, it became a very ongoing, obligatory function, and now redistribution. And we saw that in the one big budget bill. That really, the one big beautiful bill. It really upset me that so many so-called self-described Republicans, conservatives, caved to the whims of tax and spend, right? In other words, programs that maybe support farmers, that support doctors, that support hospitals, Medicare, Medicaid. Oh, don't take my little handout away. Take someone else's, not in my handout backyard. Don't take that away. FDR was responsible for that.
Yeah, I mean,
and that notion.
Yeah, and back to your point of Social Security, because if I'm not mistaken, he was the president that established that program. By definition, it is a Ponzi scheme. The way a Ponzi scheme works is that the only return on investment that you get comes from the investments of future investors. It's not because there's a product or a good or service that goes up in value. It's because future investors are putting their money into it, and then you get paid from their money. That is pretty much exactly how Social Security works. And yes, if our government was effective at anything financial related, we wouldn't have a $36 trillion debt. We wouldn't need to try to keep borrowing and taxing our way out of a spending issue.
You're so right. There's no doubt about it. And I think that's why it troubles me that Trump wants to cancel Tom Massey, wants to primary Tom Massey. We need to have the voices of those of Massey and Rand Paul, true fiscal conservatives. I mean, we need those voices there. Those are like the refiner's fire of the Bible, right? They keep the silver pure. The silver in this case being limited government, free markets, and accountability that goes with goes with freedom. At any rate, it's troubling that we have not been able to get there and restore those kind of values that we need. And when it comes to, the things like we've been talking about with the tariffs, absolutely, I agree that if someone is hammering us with a 50% tariff on our automobiles, I get that. In isolated circumstances, in order to level the playing field, I understand that. But to use these as in just a broad brushstroke way to get what really are turning out to be only promises. And my evidence on that is, it turns out that those EU and part of the EU deal where it was a 15% tariff and, everyone's crowing about how great they're going to be, $600 billion in investments by foreign corporations coming into America, in American companies building over here, building manufacturing facilities or buying our stuff so they can make stuff over there. Or on the other hand, $550 billion that was supposed to be, targeted for LNG, liquid natural gas. Guess what? It comes out that actually the only thing that it was represented, at least from the EU side, when they're talking to their own people, was an interest in making those investments. There's no enforcement mechanism in place except for more tariffs that we can invoke on them. To me, it's a slippery slope when you get into trade wars based on tariff wars. I think that it creates uncertainty among our manufacturers, our distributors, our retailers on the one hand, and in markets and investment and in consumer spending. If you don't know if you're going to have a job, because you don't know if your manufacturing facility is going to upsize or downsize because the materials that they're buying from overseas are now costing 15, 20, 25% more. I just don't understand how that translates necessarily into either a secure job, a job that pays more, a job at all, or when you go out and buy a good, while you may have a higher wage because your steel job, let's say you work for U.S. Steel, your job is protected now, and you're making a higher wage. Okay. If you at the same time are having to pay more at Walmart because the stuff they sell costs more, have you really made any more? I mean, isn't it really a wash? And at the same time, haven't we slowed down our production? I don't know where it's all going to end. We'll have to see. But maybe Virginia Kruta can help us out with that. And I think she also can help us out with why Beyonce isn't a racist and somehow some kind of an objectified woman when she advertises jeans, but Sweeney is. And oh yes, when we come back, we'll have to ask Virginia if her favorite ice cream shop is the same as Jerome's favorite ice cream shop. I happen to know what that is. And we'll come back and explain why on the Randy Tobler Show on News Talk STL 1019 94.1. Stay tuned.
intellectual skill and curiosity are quite admirable.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Psst. Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere, and we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery in St. Peter's, St. Charles, Lake St. Louis on Fort Trail, and the original Stefanina's in O'Fallon on Veterans Memorial Parkway. Check us out at steffspizza.com. Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
Yo, this is Vic. Vic for Vets is proudly honoring our veterans. Every Wednesday at 11:05, you'll hear about that day's honoree and their incredible service to our country.
Hi, it's Ken. You want to nominate a veteran? Send their name, service information, and story to me, Ken, at NewsTalkSTL.com.
Brought to you by Heroes Care, Alamo Military Collectibles, and Monocle's Pizza.
Together, let's celebrate the heroes in our community. Vic for Vets, where honor meets gratitude.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at INHSTL.com. That's INHSTL.com.
It's that time of season when families, businesses are moving. For local or long distance, I endorse McGuire Moving. Get a date set soon before the schedules are booked. 314-241-0600. 241-0600. McGuire is constantly giving back to our veterans, such as support dogs for our brave. So with McGuire, you're getting excellent service and helping our vets. McGuireMoving.com.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Love spending time outdoors, but hate the bugs? This year's tick problem is worse than ever. Don't let mosquitoes, ticks, gnats, and chiggers ruin your family fun. Mosquito Joe delivers effective pest control that's guaranteed to protect your family and pets. No long-term contract, and we handle all the scheduling for you. Mosquito Joe is winning the battle against bugs. Get your free estimate today by calling 1-855-ASK-A-JOE. That's 1-855-ASK-A-JOE. Mosquito Joe, we make the outdoors fun again.
This is an American Red Cross blood donation alert. The Red Cross is facing a severe blood shortage and is urging eligible donors of all types to give now and help avoid delays in life-saving medical care for patients this summer. More donations are needed to replenish the blood supply and help address the extraordinary blood needs of hospitals and patients right now. Be a hero to a patient in need. Use the Blood Donor app, visit redcrossblood.org, or call 1-800-RED-CROSS to make an appointment to help save lives.
Hey, so what's a great way to spread awareness that driving high is illegal everywhere? A catchy song, of course.
You can run, but you can't drive high. You can run, but you can't drive high.
Friendly reminder, don't drive high. If you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
News, analysis, opinion.
Thank you for taking my call. Thank you very much for taking my call.
Every day it's something new. No one else is really talking about this.
I'm glad you're fired up about it, too. Trump's doing the right thing. You know, there's so many issues.
It's over.
I think you're politically wrong.
Very upset.
I will have to agree with you. You're one of the sweetest guys in the world for a guy who's so bad on politics.
101.9 and 94.1.
Your platform is like really, really important to us.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
What's the biggest myth about interscholastic performing arts?
that you have to be the most talented or experienced to participate. The truth is, anyone can be a part of their school's performing arts. There are countless opportunities for students to participate, from theater, choir, and band to speech and debate. The bottom line, if you want to perform, there's a place for you.
This message presented by the NFHS and the MSHSAA.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, is brought to you by the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Request a free portfolio review at clearpathinvesting.com.
That's so cool.
Yeah. It can be.
Summer's looking sweet at Baskin Robbins.
Well, now the commercial is making the rounds on.
Well, there you go. Look at that. We discovered Jerome's favorite ice cream parlor. Apparently, Virginia Kruta joins us now. Virginia, did you know that Jerome's favorite ice cream parlor, all of a sudden, apparently, is Baskin Robbins? I can't imagine why. It couldn't have anything to do with Sydney Sweeney, could it?
Oh, you know what? Is everybody still on the Sydney Sweeney thing? Because you know what I think is really funny about this? So as soon as the right realized that the left was losing their minds over Sydney Sweeney and doing this whole everybody's Nazis thing that they do with everything, all of a sudden it started circulating on Twitter/X. Well, we don't actually care what Sydney Sweeney does. Nobody cares. It's only the right that cares. Well, nobody would care if you hadn't said everybody who likes her is a Nazi. Like, you guys, it's the same playbook. Like, the left loses their mind, and then, but it's not their fault. It's the Republicans' fault for noticing it.
So I thought it was interesting. I mean, it's just, and after they went after her for the American Eagle jeans thing, then the dog, and now, of course, it'll be about this. I just think it's hilarious. Well, let's get to some more serious stuff.
And the Dunkin' Donuts one too. Did you see that?
I didn't. Is there a Dunkin' Donuts Sweeney thing? Oh, yes, I didn't know.
There's a Dunkin' Donuts video. Now this one might not be quite as attractive to Jerome, but I'm just saying, it's a male actor from there's a Netflix special thing called The Summer I Turned Pretty. Oh. And it's a tanned golden boy, like the quintessential 90s, like 90210 golden boy, right? He's sitting by the side of the pool, wearing his nice shorts and a button-down shirt that's open to like the belly button, and he's talking. Well, I didn't ask to be the king of summer; it just happened. And he's talking about this Dunkin' Donuts golden hour refresher or whatever drink he's got, and he's talking about how I just had my colors done and it was golden summer, literally. But it's very funny and very tongue in cheek and very much in the same vibe as it's a very 90s ad. Like, it would have been commonplace if it had run in 1996. And it had that Abercrombie and Fitch vibe, like that. Yeah. And anyway, but they're like, oh my gosh, they're doing it again. They're telegraphing that if you want to be perfect and sun-kissed and golden, then you have to be white. I'm like, well, yeah, if they're going to put a guy in a commercial and brag about how he gets tan, it's got to be somebody who can get tan. Like, what?
You're right.
You're
right. Well,
this is just
I don't know.
science.
Don't you think maybe Maha should be Make America Hot Again? That's just another take on that.
My
I mean, why not?
gosh.
What's wrong with that? Now let's switch to something
You
that
know
is
what's
actually
funny, though, if you're going with healthy, you're going to get there too. Like,
that's true. Very good point.
There is a reason that people find that type attractive, because they look healthy.
Very good point.
This is
what we're talking with,
and I think that's funny about the whole body positivity thing. You're trying to make us like they're trying to make fetch happen, and they're trying to make us like something that's not attractive because it isn't healthy.
You're so right. Absolutely. It is crazy. It's been fun, but it's also been instructive, as you say, into the irrational ways of the left. Now, speaking of that, this gerrymandering thing is really getting a lot of oxygen, right? And there are people that say, there are people, I think reasonable people, Virginia, that say, look, why do we want to do a nuclear option and do this first ever mid-census thing? It's not been done before. There are others that say, wait a minute, they know how to win on the left. They will do whatever it takes. And Trump is saying, if they bring a knife to a knife fight with their gerrymandering, whenever they do it, we're going to do it in order to protect ourselves and for the good of the people and the republic. Where do you stand on that? I mean, I think that if you look at the current numbers of people, including the illegals that swarmed in, 10 or 12 or 14 or 16 million, it looks bad for the 2030 census, right? So I think we're trying to get ahead of that. Now, Donald Trump has said, what was it, yesterday or the day before? He wants to have an early census. What is your take on this?
Well, okay, first off, we know that there were massive, massive mistakes made in the 2020 census, and almost all of them favor Democrats. So to make a correction is not necessarily a bad idea, especially because we know that the goal on the left is to flood the country with illegals or whoever else they can get to jack up their numbers. So for Trump to say, hey, we're going to make sure that the next census doesn't count illegals, number one, that's what it should have been in the first place. And the fact that it didn't is a travesty. That's number one. Number two, the 2020 census, there were something like 8 states that were undercounted and 9 that were overcounted. And of all the states that were overcounted, the majority were Democrat states. So like Rhode Island was overcounted, didn't lose a seat when they should have. And of the states that were undercounted, something like 7 of the 8 were Republican states. So Alabama got undercounted. A couple other states got undercounted, and they lost seats that they shouldn't have. So you're talking about Democrat states not losing seats when they should have, and Republican seats losing them when they shouldn't have. And that happened in 2020.
Right.
Whether it was COVID or mistakes or intentional, it doesn't matter. The fact is that it happened, and to make a correction for that mid-decade wouldn't necessarily be a bad idea either. So when it comes to gerrymandering in general, we have people talking about, oh, we shouldn't do that. It's horrible because gerrymandering is bad and it looks bad when both parties do it. And I agree. So do mail-in ballots. But as Dan Bongino said, as long as the left is going to use it and abuse it, we cannot not do it, because if we don't, well, we're standing on principle. Well, we're also losing on principle. So you can't stop making the rules work to your advantage as long as they're in place. And so I think that the way Texas is doing it is maybe not optimal, but the fact that they're doing it is really, it's a non-event. If you look at the districts, like you got Ayanna Pressley in Massachusetts complaining about the way that they're redistricting. Well, look at her district. It is not on county lines or anything like that. Also, I think that the Supreme Court fight that it's pushing is a good one. The idea that you can use, you can bring in racial demographics as a consideration when you're drawing districts, I think is a bad idea, because it gives more weight to certain demographics. And that's not to say like, oh, you're just complaining because it's giving people of color more weight. No, I think it would be bad either way. And I guarantee you that there would be a rather large protest rising from the left if it was giving white people more consideration. I think that color should not be a consideration at all when you're drawing district lines. If you're going to have them based on anything, it should be county lines or city limits or however you're going to do it, where you say, which is what it was supposed to be until they brought in this, because they were supposed to generally follow population centers or county lines or whatever, so that the district lines made sense. So I live in Collinsville, Illinois. Collinsville is in Madison County. Madison County splits 3 congressional districts because of how badly Illinois is gerrymandered. Half of Collinsville is in one district, half of Collinsville is in another. There's a county line straight through my city.
Yeah,
and there are 3 districts that separate parts of my city. And
you're right. Okay, so you're right.
So because of the way they gerrymander for Democrat control.
Right. So if it's good for them, I think we learned that in the election last year. If we don't like the rules, we don't like the early voting, the mail-in voting, but by golly, if them's the rules, we better win by playing it better than. Good idea. Good thought. Full-throated endorsement of gerrymandering. Are you ready for redistricting? I only have 30 seconds. You ready for redistricting in Missouri?
Oh, haven't really looked at Missouri, but that's because I live in Illinois.
Well, they're talking about it. They're talking about going from 6-2 to 7-1. It's all the talk. Virginia Kruta, we'll check back with you next week. Thank you very, very much. When we come back, Todd Schowalter with a new book and plenty of laugh and frivolity and analysis. Stay tuned.
Hey, it's First Alert Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton from Channel 4, and we are proud to be the official weather source for NewsTalkSTL. Just like you've grown to expect from us at Channel 4, you can expect the same accurate, detailed, and timely weather coverage from NewsTalkSTL. The First Alert weather team will keep you ahead of the big weather changes. And the one thing you can count on in St. Louis, the weather is constantly changing. So Channel 4 and NewsTalkSTL are committed to keeping you up to date and safe.
Tony Colombo here for Gutter Pros, your all-in-one gutter service team that brings years of experience and quality that's affordable right to your doorstep. We discovered Gutter Pros a few years ago when we bought our home and inherited a gutter issue that was on the road to becoming a potentially big problem, but thanks to Gutter Pros was stopped before causing any major damage. They've also repaired the siding on our home because along with gutter repair, gutter installation, and leaf protection, the Gutter Pros are also the best for siding repair and installation. Learn about all the ways Gutter Pros can help your home at gutterpros.com.
Located in the heart of St. Charles, Kevin's Guns is your family-owned destination for all things firearms. Whether you're a collector, hunter, or military enthusiast, we have it or can get it for you. From new to used rifles and handguns in every style and caliber, our friendly and knowledgeable staff is here to help educate you and ensure you make the perfect choice for your needs. Buy, sell, or browse our incredible selection at kevinsguns.net or call 636-493-1195. Kevin's Guns, where gun enthusiasts come home.
Jamie Ullman here with the great Eric Swanson of Newstetter's Fine Jewelers, Dorothy Ferry, and Big Ben. Tell me about Wow Diamonds.
Wow Diamonds. We call them that because when people come in and look at the diamonds, everyone says, wow. We feature those in natural diamonds, the mine diamonds. They're perfectly cut, polished, and proportioned. Not all diamonds come out of the cutting process the same, and ours are perfect. That's why they're called Wow Diamonds.
Newstetter's Fine Jewelers right there at Dorothy Ferry and Big Bend, wowdiamonds.com.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
Tim Jones here for Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They've helped me recover from day-to-day aches and pains for years. And here's something special, personal training programs. Whether you're an athlete committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour at Town Hall. I'm Bob Agnew. President Trump's promised law enforcement surge in Washington did not appear to as scheduled on its first night in the nation's capital. The streets were bustling with revelers, but there was no visible increase in law enforcement. Mr. Trump had announced a security lockdown starting at midnight. The Justice Department has subpoenaed New York Attorney General Letitia James.
It's part of an investigation into whether James violated President Trump's civil rights. The subpoenas reportedly seek records related to a lawsuit James filed against the president over alleged fraud in his personal business dealings and a lawsuit involving the National Rifle Association. On the condition of anonymity, a source confirms the subpoenas are related to a civil rights investigation. James' office says it stands behind its litigation. John Scott reporting.
Police say a suspected shooter and a police officer are dead after law enforcement responded to an active shooter near the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention and Emory University. The CDC's director says bullets struck at least 4 of the agency's buildings. Economist Steve Moore is glad President Trump fired the head of the Bureau of Labor Statistics.
We need to get somebody in there who's a professional who can give us good numbers, and so she deserved to be out, and we'll see who comes into that. I also think, by the way, that Jerome Powell has to go too. He's been incompetent as well.
Dr. Michael Oren says the war against Hamas has taken a toll on Israel's military.
The army's exhausted. The army's exhausted. Has been fighting now for over 500 days. These reservists. They are emotionally traumatized, physically spent.
Israel's former ambassador to the U.S. says there are some serious questions, though, about the prime minister's desire to fully occupy Gaza.
And the question is, what is going to be the cost to Israeli soldiers? What's going to be the cost to Palestinian civilians? And lastly, what will be the cost to the hostages?
Oren spoke with the Salem Radio Network. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Summer is all about making great memories. Boy, I love getting out on the boat. I admit that one of my little joys in life is to get on a boat and ride around on Tampa Bay. But if you're living with pain, those future memories can be stolen from you. Here's a thought. Try Relief Factor. Let's see if we can get you out of pain. Relief Factor is a 100% drug-free daily supplement designed to help your body fight pain. It's a doctor-developed formula made of natural ingredients. The best part of all, Relief Factor never masks the pain. It helps reduce or even eliminate it for good. Whether it's doing what I do, whether it's kayaking on a lake, running around with the little ones, or just chilling in the hammock with a good book, Relief Factor can help you feel better, move better, and do more of the things you love all summer long. So if you're ready to reclaim your summer and make some amazing memories, head over to ReliefFactor.com or give them a call at 800-4-RELIEF, 800-4-RELIEF. Do it now and get their 3-week quick start for just $19.95. That number again, 1-800-4-RELIEF, 800-4-RELIEF. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor.
Is your backyard a battleground every evening? Swatting, itching, kids running back inside? Hey, Tim Jones here. I just found out about a new local company, Mosquito Nix, that can take care of all that and more. They offer permanent automatic mosquito and tick protection, not just fogging, real coverage you don't have to think about. They've helped over 40,000 families nationwide take back their yards with their automatic mosquito control system. Now they're offering a free fogging treatment to introduce themselves to St. Louis families. Call 636-698-1980 now or visit mosquitonix.com. Say goodbye to bug bites this summer. Service area restrictions do apply. Tell them Tim Jones sent you. Ask about their back-to-school special. St. Louis summers don't last forever, but mosquito bites shouldn't either. Call 636-698-1980. Visit MosquitoNIX.com. That's MosquitoNIX.com. This is a limited time offer.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor-fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Hey, Jamie Ullman here with my common sense brother, Rob Very, owner of STL Bath and Renovation. And let me tell you something, your home is your castle, but so is your bathroom. Rob, how can you make it beautiful?
Jamie, if you're tired of cleaning, you love the tile, but you hate the grout, we can give you man-made or natural stone in your bathroom for your floors and walls, but no grout. Easy to maintain.
And beautiful. All kinds of selections as well.
More than you can count.
STLBR.com, St. Louis Bath and Renovation, STLBR.com. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Jamie.
The Napoli heritage of fine dining continues with Napoli Kirkwood. Napoli Kirkwood, now open. So add that to Cafe Napoli in Clayton, Napoli 2 in Town and Country, Napoli 3 in St. Charles, right next door to Napoli C. And don't forget about Napoli Brothers Pizza and Pasta in the district, Chesterfield Valley. All of those locations, plus now, open Napoli Kirkwood.
This hour, the Randy Tobler Show, brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
It's Mike Ferguson from The Morning Show, and you are listening to Randy Tobler right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Why? Because you're awesome.
Takeover of Washington, D.C., as the president has suggested?
Yeah, that is a decision for the president. And I think that what the president was saying is that we're seeing far too much crime being committed by young people, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old, that I can't get my hands on. I mean, I don't know if you've seen some of the pictures, but, you know, young people are coddled and they don't need to be coddled anymore. They need to be held accountable. They shouldn't be going to arts and crafts in family court. They need to understand that enough is enough and that the DC Council has to repeal some of these absurd ordinances and laws that they.
All right. There's Judge Janine saying enough is enough coddling of our youths. She's, of course, the now U.S. attorney for the District of Columbia. And then she talked about going to arts and crafts. I wonder if Todd Schowalter may have misbehaved as a child and would refute what she said, because he ended up in arts and crafts, and now he's a renowned artist, cartoonist, and talk show host. Welcome into the program, Todd. Did you go to arts and crafts as a punishment?
No. I got to tell you, I grew up. My dad was a strict Navy guy. Okay, and so I mean, you looked at the guy wrong, and you were in trouble. So, and I think that's one of the big problems we have right now is just a lack of father figures and things like that.
Yeah.
That, you know, there's got to be discipline involved if you got to pay the price if you're going to play the game.
Yeah. What do you think about the general environment in terms of our juvie justice system? I mean, I think we understand that kids will make mistakes, and that's why they are still developing and their brains are developing and they're learning. But it seems as though we've lost the concept that, okay, they need someone to help give them guardrails. And if it's not at home, like you had and like I had, then maybe it's at the schools or it's at the cop on the beat. You know, it's someone has to lay down the rules, and they have to learn that there are rules and you got to follow them or else it's going to escalate. Why is that lost on modern law enforcement, and not law enforcement, but our criminal justice system? Can you figure that out?
Yeah, I think there's a real lack of accountability. I mean, if you look at anything, it's basically like a catch and release program, where if depending on whether you're a kid or an adult, if you know that if I behave badly or do do a crime, so to speak, I mean, and there's not going to be any accountability for it, and I'm just going to be caught and released, and I'm going to be back on the street, and if nothing is going to happen, you're going to repeat that. But if you do something that's illegal, or even worse, you hurt someone or steal or whatnot, and you realize, hey, there are consequences to my actions here. This is going to happen. I'm going to go to jail, or I'm going to go to detention, and not do arts and crafts, but something more severe. Then you'll second think what you're going to do. I mean, right now that's not the case. I mean, we've got to change that. We got to say, hey, this is what's going to happen if you do this.
Well, that's right. And I think that we're beginning to see, I think, some common sense criminal justice. But you know what, Todd, in a lot of cases, the cops are certainly doing their bit. They're doing what they should. The prosecutors often are going soft, and we know in the big Soros prosecutorial jurisdictions that happens. But I was getting on judges, at one point this week, talking to someone, and someone told me, wait a minute, Randy, the juries often don't make the right decision either. So maybe we need to look in the mirror when we sit in a jury box.
Yeah, and I think there ought to be just automatic things also. I mean, granted, when you're looking at the prosecutors and things like that, I mean, you can go back to the Kim Gardner days here in St. Louis. One of the reasons that our police force here in St. Louis was so depleted was for that very reason. I mean, the cops would go out and do their job, and then the prosecutor would just let them go, and nothing was being accomplished by arresting these people. So I think you've got to do that. But then I think as a society, you talk about the juries, and so I think we have to get back to a more adult way of looking at things. See, if someone does something that's blatantly wrong, we have to, as a society, do something ourselves, to make sure that doesn't repeat itself. You can take that even to the Cincinnati situation where we had that horrible beating that went on. I mean, as bad as that was, and it was horrible. I mean, the thing that bothered me, along with everything else, is that you had just bystanders that were videotaping this and taking pictures rather than as moral human beings jumping in and trying to help these people. I think as a society, we've got to get back to not being as soft and cuddly. We've got to actually get in there and do what we've got to do as human beings and make sure that, basic things don't happen.
Here's the problem with that, though, Todd. I've been thinking exactly the same thoughts you had till it crossed my mind of that guy, the Marine who eventually was exonerated. But remember, he went through a living hell in court because he took down that guy that was threatening people in the New York subway. So that's another pathology of I think anyway, of our criminal justice system. You can jump in and try to do the right thing, and suddenly you're the bad guy. It's not the perp. Sure. It's the victim, or someone trying to protect. So I think people are maybe having to calibrate that. Am I going to get in trouble because I tried to do the right thing?
Well, and that's just it. I mean, a lot of it depends on who you are as a human being and where you're at. I've ridden the New York subways, and even the last time, you've got a lot of people that, whether you want to call them crazy or eccentric or what, they're different, and it puts people on edge. Along with that, once you're on a subway car, there aren't cops or security or anything, and so you're kind of in your own environment. And you can't, I think you can't be in a situation where you're afraid to be a good Samaritan. I mean, if you see somebody that's in danger, like going back to Cincinnati, or whether it's on the subway, as a human being, you have to do what you have to do to protect somebody that can't protect themselves. And I think there ought to be some, whether it's good Samaritan laws or I don't even know what you would call them. You can't make the law and the judicial system in such that people are afraid to actually intervene if somebody is in danger. I think what we're doing right now is going to prevent that. I mean, people are going to think twice, regardless of what the situation is. And I think there ought to be some leniency on that says, hey, I came into this situation to protect this person, just like you would in a self-defense situation if someone broke into your home. If it's self-defense, you shouldn't be prosecuted. And I think the same type of law should apply for anybody that's helping someone else that's in a dangerous situation. So, I think that whole situation in New York got taken way out of context and much further than it should have. again, I mean, the guy he was protecting somebody. He didn't go out and just, try to restrain him and the guy accidentally died. It was because of that guy's actions that whole situation happened. The person that was causing the problem, I should say.
We're talking with Todd Schowalter, of course, host Right Mind here on News Talk STL at 5 p.m. tonight. Who do you have on tonight?
Oh, I tell you what, Randy, we got a fun guest. All the crazy stuff, two fun guests, actually. All the crazy stuff going on down in Texas. My buddy Jamie Gregg, the state rep down from Springfield, he comes on. I got stories out the door about him, but he comes on to talk about the stuff going on in Texas and why we're not going to let that happen here in Missouri. And then we got a guy, I don't know if he's magic or an inventor or what, but he's turning air into drinking water, which could solve a lot of problems. And I didn't know, because I don't know, I was telling Joey, for a long time, I've been trying to come up with cordless electricity, which I think would be a heck of an invention. But this guy is, he's close. I mean, he's turning air into drinking water. And people are thinking, gee, Todd, this sounds really boring. I think I'll skip this one. But it's a great interview. And so don't let me scare you away.
No, it sounds fun.
Yeah,
well, maybe his name isn't John Galt, is it? After all, John Galt out of Atlas Shrugged had that, what was it? Sort of like a magic energy machine. It was a fabulous read. And I think the Atlas Shrugged mentality may be coming back to America under the visage of Donald Trump.
Yeah, could be, and we didn't get into that. Although Joey did mention, hey, it's like Jesus turning water into wine, and that went over everybody's head. And so, but we got him back on topic, and he does explain how he turns air into water, and somehow, Randy, we make that into comedic gold.
Yeah, and I got another idea for you. I think one of your upcoming cartoons should somehow riff off of, you may have heard that Billy Long, former representative from down in Jimmy Gregg's territory down there. He ran for Senate, didn't make it. And then, he was briefly the IRS commissioner. And now, I mean, if you know Billy Long, he's a portly guy, country auctioneer guy, hilarious, really a good person. But he's going to be the ambassador to Iceland. Now that's gold for cartoonist Todd Schowalter. No?
Yeah, I did hear about this, and I was thinking, what are they just playing with this guy? Okay, I know. Let's make Billy the head of the IRS. That's really funny. No, I got a better one. Let's send him off to Iceland. Okay, so I think this is part of. I think Billy's in on a big joke, and pretty soon he's going to be, on a submarine with a screen door out in the Pacific, and and so I think this is a running joke everybody's playing on Billy, but don't let him in on the gag. I found Iceland. That's rather remote. I mean, how do you go from being the head of the IRS to an ambassador to Iceland? I just don't see the connection there. But I don't know. Maybe I can get Billy on the show. I mean, I'd love to hear more about this.
Well, and maybe he could auction off some of your best cartoons and you could retire. I mean, after all, people would bid them up to where, I mean, it would make Hunter Biden's paintings look like a popsicle stick. I mean, you could retire if Billy Long, with the quality of your cartoons and the quality of his auctioneering, I mean, it would just, you'd never be heard of again. You'd buy an island in the Caribbean and bye-bye Todd.
I never thought of that. I could have gone the Hunter Biden route with these cartoons. I would be like making so much more money right now, and I'd be, doing illegal deals with foreign countries and everything. I mean, hey, that is I want you to be my new business strategist. Do you mind?
Well, only if you give me the key to your laptop. I need that. I need the key to your laptop. Okay, now
you've got it.
Hey, we do need to talk. We do need to talk about Sam Page and about Sam Page has flown close to the sun many, many times, right? I mean, he has pushed the edge. Now he's been indicted. Some have said, wait a minute, there are people throughout Missouri in, elected positions, often in municipalities where they have maybe made a call to board members. If I'm the head of the local fire district, or I've sent out a flyer that said, vote for the bond issue, whoops. And all they get's a slap on the hand and maybe a little fine. Is it proper that Sam Page should be indicted?
Well, and again, I'm not a Sam Page fan, and
I'm not either.
I think, and a lot of the stuff, and everything that went on with all the COVID BS and everything. I mean, I think that was a lot of overreach. and things. I mean, I have to be honest with you though. I mean, he may have what happened was illegal and it was wrong. But to be fair, I think that they're taking it a little too far with some of the things that are going on. But at the other time, they may be using that as well. We didn't get him for these other things going on. Maybe this is kind of like the payback for everything else getting brushed under the rug. This particular instance, I mean, you're kind of on the edge with that. However, it was illegal. I mean, it wasn't. They're not doing anything. They're not pushing any envelopes by doing this. At the same time, there have been a lot of things that have happened. I mean, you look at what happened with Stenger before him and things like that. There's just not a good history of Democrats in office, whether it be in the city of St. Louis or the county. I think the way to, I mean, in a perfect world, we'd have, a Republican in there doing things differently. But I think this may be being used more for some of the things that happened in the past in this particular instance. And if that's the case, great, more power to it. But I think that they are kind of digging here to make take this as far as they did.
Well, after all, look, but I hadn't thought of it that way. Maybe it is in the context of what standard operating procedure is in these kind of matters. Maybe it's like, how did a lot of mafia guys get brought down? I am not accusing Sam Page of being mafia, but I'm just saying they got taken down with tax evasion, right? It was often it had nothing to do with them taking their guns and mowing people down on Valentine's Day. It was other charges. Maybe that's what's up.
That's an excellent point. And I think that is. I actually do. I think that's part of it. I mean, there have been a lot of things that I think he should have been looked at more closely over that weren't. And now it's like, but you're right. We got Al Capone with the taxes. I mean, like, we're not comparing him to Al Capone, but at the same time, hey, we got him now on something that he can't deny. Maybe now we can pay the price for the things that happened in the past, even if it's unrelated. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
I know as a stethoscope carrying doctor, I just wish it wasn't announced that he's an anesthesiologist over and over and over again. I mean, oh my God, please.
Well, the thing is about that too, Randy, is the fact that he is an he's always put me to sleep whenever I've listened to him. Okay, and the fact that he's an anesthesiologist, I just found the irony in that really rich.
Yeah, that's great. All right. There's Todd Schowalter. You can hear more of that analysis and really fantastic humor on the Right Mind Show every Saturday at 5 p.m. Thank you very much, Todd. Enjoyed the convo. Talk to you later.
Okay. All right, buddy. Take care. Bye-bye.
There he is. It's always fun. Let's switch gears and talk to Tim Jones, of course, host of the Jones and Arp Show. And you know what? They're going to be in Israel, broadcasting from Israel. We got to talk about that, about gerrymandering, about where he thinks the tariff thing's going. And we'll do that right after we come back on the Tobler Show on News Talk STL 1019 94.1.
The news and talk.
Our local police department will not ever cooperate with ICE.
That matters to St. Louis.
More files in the Russia collusion hoax are expected to be released.
This is 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Jamie Ullman here with the refi and debt consolidation magician, Jordan Rosenblum. Google the bagel loan. Jordan, tell me about it.
Well, Jamie, with inflation high, credit card debts all-time highs, let's look at a cash-out refinance on your home. With our bagel loan, we're going to have no title fees. We're going to have no lender fees, no appraisal fees. This will help your overall cash flow mightily. It's the time to do it. Jump on now while you can. We can always refinance when rates drop. Bagel loan all day.
314-442-9570 or Google the bagel loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Join Aaron Tarlow every Sunday night at 9 on News Talk STL for Shall Not Be Infringed, your voice for Second Amendment rights and firearms education. Brought to you by DG Firearms, Kevin's Guns, Osage County Guns, and Full Circle Reloading and Firearms.
Hi, it's Ken Williams, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the Capistrami. You've got hot pastrami, melty Swiss cheese, crunchy coleslaw, and zesty Russian dressing. What else do you need? I love Capriati's, and you will too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
For 3 generations, one family has ruled the road in quality asphalt paving. Ruby's King of the Road Hot Mix Asphalt Paving. Family owned and operated. We're your leading authority for driveways, lanes, and parking areas. No project is too small or too large. We cater to both residential and commercial needs with unbeatable quality at just $38 per square yard plus labor. Call 636-295-9949. 636-295-9949. Ruby's King of the Road Hot Mix Asphalt Paving. You save when we pave.
Hello, I'm Missouri State Treasurer Vivek Malik. August 14th is National Able Savings Day, a time to highlight how ABLE accounts empower individuals with disabilities. Our More ABLE program helps Missourians save for everyday needs without losing public benefits. To celebrate, we are offering a $25 match for anyone who opens a new account in August. Earnings grow tax-free and contributions qualify for a state tax reduction. Let's help more Missourians build financial independence. Learn more at moable.com.
Paid for by the Missouri State Treasurer's Office.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
Monday, Tim and I are in Israel, but Patrick Toohey from the Show Me Institute fills in. And his guest at 420 will be former Senator Jim Talent.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Way back up in the woods among the evergreens.
Helps decide congressional maps.
Right.
Does this have everything to do with redistricting?
Well, it does. In fact, we know the 2020 census, the errors were almost always to the detriment of red states. Blue states like Rhode Island.
Do we know that?
We do know that. The Census Bureau's own audit of its work has proven that. Blue states like Rhode Island were overcounted. Rhode Island then didn't lose a seat. Red states like Alabama were undercounted. Listen, this is just a fact. It wasn't all red-blue, but it was disproportionately red-blue.
Do you think one of the big things?
Oh, wow. Isn't that interesting? They had to repaint the ceiling there after the steam coming out of the CNN host's ears as the analyst was rebutting her. And that was very interesting. Let's see what Tim Jones says about redistricting in the light of that analytic fact. He joins us now. Of course, Tim holds forth every afternoon on News Talk STL on the Jones and Arp Show. Tim, welcome in, man. What'd you think of that CNN exchange? Wasn't it rich?
Randy, I mean, I feel like we just win every single day that we turn on CNN, because if you want to know how great this country is, Randy, look at how upset the CNN analysts are about how everything's being made great again.
So, look, there's been criticism that, this is akin to the nuclear option. No one's ever done mid-census redistricting. And what are you Republicans doing? How dare you? I thought you were principled. And boy, that argument falls apart quickly, doesn't it, when you really look at the facts of the why of that what?
Yeah, Randy, it sure does. I mean, wait a minute. We're going to beat you at your own game. So somehow what we're doing is the worst sin since whatever you can imagine happened since electing Donald Trump, I guess, in 2016. I mean, Randy, let's be honest. There is nothing public policy oriented about redistricting. Redistricting is a purely political process. Oh my goodness, Randy, I think they just dropped the China cups over at CNN again, but that's what it is. It's a purely political process. Now, that doesn't mean it shouldn't be based on facts, right, Randy? And what do you do? What do you do if you have a prior census that is, I would argue, as you've been talking about this morning, is completely unlawful and unconstitutional on its fundamental foundation? And there's two problems with redistricting, and you've been discussing one of them for sure, maybe both of them this morning. I think you've mentioned, number one, the books were cooked, Randy, in the last census, right? Let's be honest. Why in the world did New York and California only lose, what, 1 or 2 seats? When if you look at the out-migration, which I study, as you know, I've been studying that for nearly 2 decades as a legislator and now as a broadcaster and a public policy guy, working for a lot of great center-right think tanks. The census favored the Democrats heavily, not just a little bit. You had 2 million people move out of New York State over the last 10 years. You had approximately that number move out of California, and they only each lost maybe 1, maybe 2 congressional seats total. And so your books were cooked in the last census. Secondly, Randy, as you also referred to this morning, you are counting, the federal government under Joe Biden was counting illegal aliens as part of the census numbers. If they're not supposed to be voting, if they're in this country illegally, then why are we counting illegal aliens to base the redistricting of our congressional districts on? It absolutely defies logic, makes no sense. But then again, I guess I've described liberalism today in America.
How do you reconcile that very common sense, and I think widely, if people are thoughtful about it, widely agreed upon with us common folk analysis, that if you can't vote, why are you counted in the census? Isn't it unfortunate, though, that the Supreme Court doesn't agree with us? A conservative-leaning Supreme Court. How do we reconcile that? And maybe more importantly, if we get a bigger upper hand in the midterm, should that be fixed if it truly is a verbatim constitutional issue?
Oh, Randy, now you're asking for a lot. You're asking for Congress to do their job, right? And actually attempt to fix many of the problems. Look, I'm not someone who says we should have no migration into this country. I am here talking to you today because I am the product of immigrants to this country. My great grandfather and my grandfather and two of my great uncles all immigrated here from Italy, first back in the late 1800s, and then around the 1930s. So I understand the need for migration. It has made the United States of America what it is today. But that's, Randy, also when we used to embrace the concept of the great American melting pot, and now, of course, the liberals want to segregate everyone into different class systems in this country. Story for another day. So, Randy, we need a robust, vibrant system of migration. It's what helped build this great country into what it is today. But Congress needs to fix those issues. We've been having this debate, Randy, since I was in diapers and you were thinking about going to med school. So.
Wait a minute now. Those are fighting words.
I
now you got me there.
You got morning.
No, but you're right. I am always concerned, Tim, about the Republican Party and remaining at the same time principled, but fighting these battles of trying to maintain a voice in American governance against an unprincipled, non-virtuous, immoral, and unethical opposition, right? So at some point, if you continue to, as Virginia told us earlier, you can continue to be on your principles and lose on your purest principles. But sometimes I think, Tim, if you're brought to a knife fight, you got to have a bigger knife or maybe pull out the gun. So you got to win, right? And I think that's where we're at
Randy,
now.
Yeah, Randy, and that's kind of not to totally shift gears on you, but to kind of segue and to make a comparison. That's basically what the Freedom Caucus in Missouri, which I'm the state director of. We got Nick Schroer, who's our chairman. We have a lot of connections to that group of scoundrels here at NewsTalkSTL. Right. That's kind of where they are, Randy. They always want to get to yes the right way, right? And I think you saw that through some of their leadership this year. Nick Schroer getting the St. Louis City crime bill across the finish line after it had been stuck in the process for 5 years. Senator Adam Schnelting getting an Amendment 3 fix, which was definitely a compromise, not perfect at all. But Randy, to your point, we can't let perfect be the enemy of the good. That is one of my favorite sayings. It's so true, because if you're just going to use these purity tests 6 ways from Sunday, you're never going to accomplish anything. And then, Randy, to your point, the left is going to absolutely run you over because they don't have the same sense. They are political. They are political masochists. And so if anybody is questioning Republican redistricting, just pull up the congressional map of the state of Illinois. It looks like a spider web with a bunch of spaghetti strings thrown onto it. It is laughable. I'm not saying Republicans should do that, but if we're talking about having fair redistricting, we absolutely should have that national conversation.
So let's talk about the analogy or not between Texas Democrats and if there is a special session and if there is a proposed 7-to-1 spaghetti and meatballs redistricting map. Could Missouri Democrats, do they have any of the same kind of option? I understand it's different in Missouri. I don't think that the threshold is as high So maybe just the simple majority takes it. What are the rules around that? The legalistics around redistricting? Should Governor Kehoe call a redistricting session, a special session?
Well, Randy, to answer your question would be yes and no. So they don't have the ability to stop the session from beginning, which is what they're doing in Texas, which I think is an abomination. Not even showing up for work, not even wanting to have the conversation, not even wanting to do the business of the people and represent your folks back home. Once the Texas Republicans get that quorum, do you think they're going to want to work with anybody at that point in time? I mean, the Democrats have kind of dug their own grave down in Texas. Now, up here in Missouri, we will be able to have a quorum. We will be able to go into a special session if Governor Kehoe calls it. And once again, I give a lot of kudos and congrats out to State Senator Nick Schroer, the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, Representative Justin Sparks, my Representative Holly Jones, also part of the Freedom Caucus. They've been banging the drum on this for several weeks. And I also know they've been in direct conversations with the White House. This is coming from the Trump Oval Office because, as you said, Trump has decided he's going to fight fire with fire on this redistricting issue. So if they call it in, it will happen. But, Randy, the Democrats in our state Senate have the filibuster power. So they'll have to decide how long they want to try to filibuster a 7-1 map. As to the map itself, Randy, I take all my cues on that from now Congressman Bob Onder. Bob was a state senator when this debate was last held. He was a huge advocate for the 7-1 map. He and Nick Schroer, Nick was in the House at the time. He and Nick Schroer each had a version of a 7-1 map. It was compact. It was contiguous. I could go on and on with all the legalese, but I believe it absolutely met and exceeded all the requirements for a proper non-gerrymandered redistricting back in, 2022.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to see it. I mean, I think it's about high time that we create a little buffer come the midterms because it's going to be tight. But in order for Trump to get more of his agenda through, we've got to make sure that we maintain and extend that majority. On another note, President Trump, of course, has invoked these tariffs. I think there are good people on the conservative side economically who are concerned that there will be another shoe to drop. Walmart has said that there will be an impact on consumer prices, Tim. Scott Bessent said we won't really see a pickup in manufacturing for 2 or 3 years, maybe. It's going to be a little far out. Do you think that there's a risk that as a result of the tariffs and the trade wars and actually some backdoors negotiating now between other countries that are trying to develop alternative markets, that is there some risk that there could be a bad timing of a little dip in our economy pre-midterm that could really be harmful? Or do you think there'll be nothing but smooth sailing till then? What's your crystal ball
Randy,
say?
you still there?
Yeah. What's your crystal ball say?
Randy, you still there?
Hey, can you hear me, Tim?
Yeah, I lost you there, Tim. You there? There we go. Yeah.
Oh, I think we lost him.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, I'm going to try to give him a call back real quick.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah, I think the concern, ladies and gentlemen, is that maybe there could be a problem with a bad timing. I mean, I think that overall, if the tariffs are moderated, if there's some carve-outs, especially on the import of the raw materials, those products that are required that we don't make here, raw materials we don't have here, maybe parts that we just don't make yet, and it's going to take 2 or 3 years to get those manufacturing facilities up. Is there some risk at some point that there will be a swoon in the economy that will predate the midterms? And then that, of course, gives a tremendous wide lane for Democrats and their complicit media to say, look at what Trump did. The Biden economy was roaring. Things were happening. Whether or not we believe that's true, the media and Democrats will parrot that. And then at the same time, a little bit of a dip while the tariff effect takes a while to really, kick in fully. Is there some risk of that? Is Tim back with us now?
Hey, Tim, can you hear us?
I am.
Okay.
I am,
Yeah.
Randy. I'm here. Yes.
Yeah, Tim, do you think there's some risk that the lag in the positive tariff effect, which let's assume that happens. There are those who say it won't happen, but let's assume that happens. Could there be just a perfect storm in a bad way a little dip in the economy, a delay in that manufacturing coming back to America, so a dip in prices, or maybe a transfer of some of the tariffs finally that is absorbed at the consumer level, could that portend some trouble for the midterms? What do you think? What's your crystal ball say?
Well, Randy, here's the thing. It's now August, and the operative words here, going back to my English literature major degree years, are may and could. Randy, they've been saying the nattering nabobs of negativity who just hate Donald Trump on the right and the left have been bashing this tariff operation since the beginning. I'm not a big tariff guy. I ultimately, Randy, want tariffs to be as low as possible and for trade to be as free as possible. But we haven't been living in that world, have we, Randy? We've been living in a world where all of the developed nations, and you know what? Maybe let me just say all the nations that we do business with have been taking advantage of us for decades. And so the tariffs, let me say this very clearly and plainly. I'm not an economist, but I study these things. I have a Juris Doctorate degree. I try to be a smart person as best I can. The tariffs have had no visible, measurable effect on the economy. May they have an effect? They may. Could they have an effect? They could. But in the meantime, Randy, the markets yesterday just closed at and over all-time highs. I believe the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, which are the best indicators of a growth economy, have exceeded their all-time highs under this terrible Trump tariff regime. And the Dow Jones is bumping up against another all-time high. I think what Donald Trump wants to do, Randy, tariffs as not as a mechanism for forever foreign policy, right? And so what you have to look at are so many of the other metrics. And the biggest thing holding us back right now, honestly, is Jerome Powell and his excessively high interest rates. Whereas goods are coming down in cost. If you go to the grocery store, the gas pump, all of those daily consumer goods are coming down. Tariffs have had maybe a slight effect on some limited sectors of our economy, but not overall a measurable effect, as I stated. You know what is having an effect? High interest rates. High interest rates are making the pursuit of the American dream, home ownership, unreachable for many people. It's also, Randy, really stymieing business owners from mid, large size, and even small business owners from being able to borrow the money that they need to do, which is the way we do business. Largely, we leverage that debt here in the United States of America. So interest rates need to come down, and I think we just need to take a deep breath and wait and see how these tariffs continue to play out. Because to this point, they have not been catastrophic, despite what the experts have tried to convince us of to the otherwise.
I do need to ask you briefly about this statement that came out of Trump's office just several days ago about maybe holding FEMA funds for municipalities, jurisdictions that are going to, I guess, sever ties with Israeli companies if they do that. Do you see, is there a risk there of some, well, I guess those would only be blue cities, but is there some risk of a political pushback if disaster relief is tied to, support or not for Israel? I mean, I'm just from a political sense, you look at these things. I'm not in the weeds there.
Yeah, and Randy, I'm not overly familiar with what the administration has done on this issue. I will say, though, Randy, on this overall point, we really have to do something about the virulent anti-Semitism, right, in this country. It is absolutely horrific, and I'm very afraid that what's going on here is largely that. And so we have to push back against that. We have to make sure that nobody is using that as an excuse. You know, again, we want free, fair. We want people to be treated fairly, but we also need to completely push back on this anti-Semitism, which is coming, Randy, not only from the left, but from some lunatics on the right as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's an interesting time, and I think the one thing that I really don't want to see, and I know you don't either, is deep and long-standing permanent divisions within the Republican ranks, right? I think that we're going to have to find a way to avoid that, because going forward, we know that the Democrats, one thing they do very, very well is stick together. So hopefully whatever fences have been broken in Republican land can be mended. Hey, real briefly, before we leave you, you've got a I guess a first, right? An exclusive first for News Talk STL and maybe for broadcasting at large coming next week with you and Chris.
That's right, Randy. And thanks for that. And huge thanks to our great friends at Newsmax we are heading overseas. Chris is on his way. I think he's in Newark, New Jersey as we speak. I'll be following later this evening. And we're going to be doing a Newsmax Israel mission trip, a trip to Israel with about 40, 45 other media types, influencers, Newsmax people. My good friend, John Gizzi, the White House correspondent for Newsmax, will be there. I found out yesterday. Some other folks I've recognized that Chris and I have interviewed over the years are going to be there. And we're going to be learning, of course, about this incredibly historic holy place, walking literally in the footsteps of Christ, because we will be seeing some of those sites. But we're also going to be learning from the Israelis about this historic renaissance we're seeing in the Middle East. There's an opportunity for a renaissance, right? And it's coming while history is being made, with Netanyahu deciding that he is going to go in a full-out, military in occupation of Gaza. There's going to be lots to experience. We're going to be immersing ourselves in the culture and the history. We're going to be paying a lot of homage to the October 7th victims. I know there's some of those items on the agenda. We're going to be meeting with high-ranking Israeli officials. Maybe we'll get to see Beatty himself, Randy. How cool would that be?
Sounds fun. Well, and I guess you'll be checking back in with folks that are filling in for you, right? And we maybe hear from you next week when you're over there.
Yes, Randy, we're going to be checking in throughout the week, and God willing, and everything works well, which is, big fingers crossed on that. Chris and I are hoping to actually broadcast from Israel on Tuesday and Wednesday evenings. So we'd love for folks to, tune in every day, of course, but you don't want to miss those shows. You're going to be hearing history as it's being made as Chris and I are with Newsmax in Israel all next week.
All right. Well, that'll be precedent setting and bar raising for the rest of us on News Talk STL. That's a challenge. I think next week, Jerome and I are going to take the show to Herculaneum. Yes, Herculaneum. No, nothing against the good folks in Herculaneum.
How about head up to Iceland with Billy Long?
There you go. Hey, thanks a lot, Tim. Good luck. Safe travels, brother. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Randy. Always a pleasure speaking with you and Jerome and everybody at News Talk STL Nation on Saturday mornings. Continue to have the great show you do. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Take care. There he is, Tim Jones. Jones and Arp every weekday afternoon. That'll be exciting to hear that broadcast from Israel. We'll come back and wrap it up after a few words from sponsors. Make sure that you do, when you need the services and goods of our sponsors, make sure you patronize them. They keep these programs and this great station free. And that's a beautiful thing. We'll be right back.
He used to carry his guitar in a gunny sack and sit beneath the trees by the railroad track. The engineer could see him sitting in the shade.
So many ways to listen to News Talk STL. Enable our Alexa skill.
Hello.
Hey, Alexa.
Yes, I'm listening.
Play News Talk STL.
Welcome to News Talk STL, conservative talk radio for St. Louis.
Hey, I want to talk with you about Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles and how I hear from people coming all over the metro area, driving long ways to go visit Dr. Daniel Cusimano and Megan Dwyer and their great team out there. I do, because I know I'm going to get great service. I'm going to get financial stewardship, always looking out to try to make it as affordable as they possibly can. And also trying to protect my teeth, protect everything about my dental health, my gum health, because that, of course, impacts so much more than just a nice smile. They've got the latest technology. They know how to wield it in the most expert way. And whether it's managing the discomfort of dentistry or whether it's just really making sure that you're getting all those cosmetic things like restorations and even Botox and dermal fillers, they'll cover you wherever you need their services. Learn more about them at advanceddentistrynow.com. It's Advanced Dentistry of St. Charles at advanceddentistrynow.com.
Planning your next adventure? Head to Landell EE Clothing Store in Wentzville and gear up for less. Whether you're hitting the beach or the slopes, we've got you covered at prices that won't break the bank. Find us at 12680 Veterans Memorial Parkway, just west of Highway A off I-70. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Landell EE, where adventure meets affordability. Stop by today and discover the bargains waiting for you.
The 5th Annual St. Charles Jewish Festival is Sunday, August 10th from 11 to 2:30 at the Lewis and Clark Boathouse parking lot. Join us for a vibrant celebration of Jewish life and culture. Experience world-class Jewish music, savor delicious kosher cuisine, and enjoy family entertainment. From a massive bubble party to cultural crafts, a petting zoo, and inflatables, there's something for everyone. For more info and to secure your free ticket, visit jewishstcharles.org/festival. Come celebrate, enjoy, and be inspired.
Simply Health with Dr. Brian Deloney.
Make sure to join us this weekend as we dig into thyroid truths. We're going to really be debunking the myths that surround thyroid and weight gain and really look at what is actually driving the problem. So if you've been feeling the fatigue, losing hair, got the energy issues, have all the symptoms, and even if you've been medicated or not, and you're trying to fix it, make sure you're there.
Simply Health, Saturdays at noon on News Talk STL. To find out more about Simply Health Integrated Medical, log on to simplyhealthintegrated.com.
Jamie Allman here for O'Fallon Family Floors. Experience the passion. Oh, yeah. You can go in and see the best variety, the best pricing, the best quality, the best personalized service right there off of Highway K in O'Fallon, or you can have the store come to you. Oh, yeah. Brian and his team take great pride in running a fantastic flooring outlet, and you can get their 5-star ratings right there on Google. Just check it out. It's O'Fallon Family Floors, O'FallonFamilyFloors.com.
Looking for excitement, fun, and delicious food for the whole family? Piccadilly Parwan has it all. Savor our scratch-made dishes. Nothing frozen. Every bite a true delight. Roll into fun at Piccadilly Palace for roller skating, or race your heart out at Piccadilly Kart Racing. Join us for happy hour Monday through Friday, 4 till 6. Free select appetizers and drink specials. And don't miss our mouth-watering Sunday family dinners. Piccadilly Parwan on Audrey Lane in Union, Missouri, or online at PiccadillyPar1.com.
Hey there, Tim Jones here. When life changes, you need someone you can trust. That's Todd Sivia. At Sivia Law, they're dedicated to helping you through all of life's transitions, specializing in estate planning and elder law. With 7 convenient locations in the area, expert guidance is always close by. Call 833-995-WILL, 833-995-WILL, or visit CiviaLaw.com. Don't forget, first 10 people that tell them Tim Jones sent me get a free $300 strategy session. Sivia Law, helping you protect what matters most.
This hour, The Randy Tobler Show, brought to you by Advanced Dentistry Now. Doctors Dan Cusimano and Dr. Megan Dwyer. 636-978-0226. Or visit them on the web at advanceddentistrynow.com.
That's life. That's life. That's what all the people say.
This is Larry Connors reminding you to listen to my program Monday through Friday at 6 p.m., the Larry Connors USA Daily Report. But now, back to the outstanding Dr. Randy Tobler.
Thanks, Larry. Let's talk a little medicine. I wanted to remind you all to make sure and get your sleep. It's actually good for your overall health. If you're not getting good sleep, please, especially if you snore loudly, if your spouse notices you maybe gasping now and then to catch your breath, boy, get a sleep study and get that fixed. We're seeing more and more of that in the audience, in the office, not in the audience. But I will say that, Jerome, I sometimes don't get enough sleep. And when we don't, we're not doing ourselves a favor in terms of making our best decisions. You know why? Researchers are finding that, that old phrase, sleeping on it.
Mm-hmm.
A study recently published in a neuroscience journal showed that, when people did a memorization task while wired up to an EEG, that's that brainwave machine, monitoring what happened, they turn out that, when people sleep or take a little afternoon nap, you actually can consolidate memory and actually help make better judgments in the AM or when you wake up from your nap. So it's a good thing to get sleep now and then. I know you're sleep deprived a lot because you work too hard and too long, but I'm just giving you some advice. Now, what does this relate to politics? I got to thinking about it. If sleep is good for you, if sleep enhances your memory, if sleep consolidates your memory and enhances your judgment, maybe Joe Biden should run for office in 28. I mean, Sleepy Joe, right? So maybe that
man.
means this is bogus science. I don't know. And another, sometimes I can't help it. I got to talk a little medicine and the medical industry. And I'm so fired up over this story that came out about United Healthcare and how, they're being investigated by the DOJ because they'll have this practice. All insurance companies do it, but UHC is in trouble for it. They tend to send people out. Nurses will call you. Sometimes they'll say, they get you to say, well, have you ever had a high blood sugar number? Yeah, I've had high blood sugar. Well, you must have prediabetes then. And they were accused of basically padding the diagnosis list so that they could get more subsidy from the government when it came to either the exchanges or the Medicare Advantage programs. So they're in trouble on that. Now this story out of Texas, there's a surgeon who they won't let her in their network. And if you're not in the network, then people can't pay out of network prices. This is just another example of United Healthcare. And this is just an example. All the big insurance companies just forcing our doctors to basically knuckle under, basically take it or leave it. If you want to take care of our thousands of patients that we own, because it's really very, very large swaths of patients' lives that are covered by these big insurers, especially in metro areas. And that's true in Missouri and in Metro St. Louis. What happens is they'll go to the doctor and say, here's what you're going to get reimbursed, take it or leave it. Or in this case, she wasn't allowed to take her facility where she does surgery, wasn't allowed to be in network. So they control the cost, the prices, they price fix, and that then trickles down to you, because the less that they reimburse while they're making billions and billions and billions in profit, that affects you, ladies and gentlemen, by the doctor, the facility getting less and less at the same time that the regulatory burden is going up and up and up, which means that the services seem truncated. They seem shortened. It seems like you're just being run through the mill. The reason that's happening is in order to keep their doors open and being able to take care of you, they have to do that to make ends meet. So look for opportunities. There are always growing opportunities to escape the machine, the treadmill, especially with the coming rules under the one big, beautiful bill where you can use an HSA tied to your high deductible plan to pay membership fees in a direct primary care practice like the one we and other great providers do in the area. Look for those opportunities. Just say no to big insurance if you can. Hey, that wraps it up for this week on the Tobler Show. Thanks for being with us. We'll keep an eye on gerrymandering, tariffs, the markets, the interest rates, the Epstein files, and so much more, and be back next week. Thanks, Jerome. Thank you all. See you next time.
Man holy, let us live to make man free. While God is marching
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
Thank you for the opportunity to let me vent here.
Live and local.
Way to be, guys. 1019 all the way.
This is News Talk STL.
I am home.
Hi, I'm Helene Tobler, culinary nutritionist at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Here we do practical wellness. Dr. Randy and I have a common sense approach to healthcare. My passion is helping our members enjoy better nutrition because food is medicine. We approach problems with a lifestyle foundation and cutting-edge medical tool chest. At Body of Health, it's about being your healthiest you. If you want to experience healthcare the way